Chapter 976. This is, the supreme sacred token? He looked at the token in the man's hand in shock, and his face was indescribably distorted. Beside him, Mo Chenxuan's face also changed when he heard the words he blurted out. Supreme sacred token? How could this be? Only the transcendent saints of the four sacred dynasties could issue such a token. Every token represented the power and status of a transcendent saint. What kind of existence was a transcendent saint? It was an existence that ruled the entire sacred dynasty, like the eastern region's supremacy. How could he have such a token? The two's faces twisted in shock, and the people around them looked at Yi Qianming with the same shock. Supreme sacred token. Those who could enter the sacred academy of the Empire of Qin were not ordinary people. How could they not know what a supreme sacred token was? Under such circumstances, the way they looked at Yi Qianming changed. Originally, everyone was very envious of Luo Qingtong and the others for being able to become Yi Qianxian's disciple, and for their strength to increase so much. Especially Luo Qingtong, who rose from the martial emperor realm to the martial emperor realm in a month. Not only was the chief instructor strong, he was also very good at teaching people. Not only that, the chief instructor even had a supreme sacred token on him. Oh my God! Once they thought of what the supreme sacred token represented, they beat their feet and stomped their chests. If they had known earlier, they would have risked everything to become the chief instructor's disciple. Even if they had to be shameless, they would have done it. Su Deheng and Mo Chenxuan's faces turned ugly, but Yuan Hu and the others relaxed. Yuan Hu, the guy who wished for the world to be in chaos, laughed loudly. He looked at Su Deheng and Mo Chenxuan's ugly faces and mocked, "Yo! Great teacher of the Soul Institute, please continue. Continue your performance. How about our chief instructor's status? What's that with you? Oh! Compared to a prince with a different surname, who is more powerful? Is our chief instructor offending his superiors?" Yuan Hu's voice was extremely loud. In particular, he had purposely added a little bit of power into it. In an instant, his voice spread throughout the entire arena like a lion's roar. If it weren't for the special materials used in the Sky Hall's training ground and the isolation of the formation, the Sky Hall's arena would have been destroyed. His words could probably spread to almost half of the Sky Hall's training ground. Su Deheng and Mo Chenxian looked extremely embarrassed. Especially Mo Chenxian, who had deliberately brought up the difference between their identities in order to help Su Deheng vent her anger, so that he could better win her over. In the end, not only did he not vent his anger, he even helped someone else steal the limelight. His side had lost all face. He was even beaten swollen. His face alternated between green and white, and he almost couldn't control his expression. There was no need to mention Su Deheng. Just now, when Yi Qianxian said that he didn't have a noble title, his expression was so arrogant. He almost laughed out loud. In the end, he was slapped in the face. His proud, arrogant, and shocked expression was fixed on his face. It was as strange as it could be. The chief instructor has the supreme sacred token, so he naturally wouldn't offend his superiors. Sima Ju's voice rang out at this moment. However, the person who fought with the chief instructor is offending his superiors. Chapter 977. Su Deheng's expression turned even uglier. Beside him, Mo Chenxian couldn't maintain his composure either. After all, he was the one who suggested using his title to suppress others. Now, he was slapped in the face instead. He didn't even have a reason to find an excuse. Moreover, even if they wanted to find an excuse, they had to see if Yi Qianxian was willing or not. Obviously, Yuan Hu and the rest weren't going to let them off. Just as he was thinking this, on the other side, Yuan Hu, Sima Ju, and Ling Yu had already started talking loudly. Oh! So that means that the person who offended his superior is actually the Soul Institute's great teacher? Then what should we do if he offends his superior? kowtow and apologize. Sigh. The Seoul Institute's great teacher was beaten up so badly and he's still kneeling. Let's not force him to do anything. Just let him kowtow and apologize. As soon as he said that, Su Deheng couldn't hold back the sweet taste in his throat and spat out a mouthful of blood. He was already injured from the fight with Yi Qianxian and was holding on with his last breath. Now, not only did he fail to vent his anger, he lost even more face. Thinking of this, Su Deheng was so angry that he started trembling. In the next second, his eyes rolled back and he fainted. Seoul Institute's great teacher. Seeing Su Deheng faint, Mo Chenxian naturally couldn't stay in the arena any longer. He glanced coldly at Luo Qingtong and the rest and said coldly, "Good. You guys are very good." He didn't dare to target Yi Qianxian, so he vented all his anger on Luo Qingtong and the rest. "I hope you guys can still laugh in the future." As he spoke, he waved his sleeves and said to the people beside him, "Bring the Seoul Institute's great teacher and the rest. We're leaving." A group of people from the Dragon Group heard the order and hurriedly helped the Seoul Institute's great teacher, Yu Wenma, and Su Jinhua up. The group of people left with their tails between their legs. Especially Mo Chenxian, he was in high spirits when he came here, thinking that Luo Qingtong was bound to lose. He even planned to make her his slave. In the end, not only did Luo Qingtong win, she even crippled Yu Wenma. But that wasn't all. The Seoul Institute's Grand Master had personally stepped in, and he didn't even care about his reputation. Yet, he still hadn't managed to gain any advantage. Where did that Yi Luo come from? How could there be a Supreme Saint Order? Mo Chenxian and the others left angrily. On the other side, Su Xiaoxiao and the others were overjoyed. The members of the Heavenly Evil Group cheered, laughing and jumping. Those who had just joined felt indescribably lucky. Fortunately, they made the right bet this time. Luo Qingtong actually won against Yu Wenma, and in such a beautiful manner, forcefully slapping the Dragon Group in the face once again. This time, they really didn't misjudge him. As the group cheered, the members of the Gue Yuan group also came up to congratulate. Ma Chenyi looked at Luo Qingtong and smiled, "Congratulations on winning the bet. You have nothing to do with Yu Wenma anymore." The young man's temperament was elegant and steady. When he smiled and congratulated her, he gave off the feeling of a jade-like gentleman. Seeing the sincere congratulation in his eyes, Luo Qingtong smiled faintly. "Thank you, Your Highness." As she spoke, she suddenly felt a pair of eyes staring at her. Luo Qingtong turned her head and saw Yi Qianxian's disguised face looking at her with a dark expression. Chapter 978. Humph! Seeing her turn her head, Yi Qianxian snorted coldly, flicked his sleeves, and disappeared in front of the crowd with a cold face. The crowd rushed in front of him. Some thanked him, some admired him, and some were stunned. "Grand Principal, what's wrong with the Chief Instructor?" The group of people looked at the Grand Supreme Headmaster beside them in confusion and asked. Ahem. The Grand Principal covered his mouth and coughed softly. "He's probably tired." "In fact, tired? He's just jealous, okay?" Who would have thought that the dignified Ming Zun of the Black Field was such a jealous person? No wonder he had to conceal his identity and stay by the side of that evil Dr. Child. However, the Grand Principal deeply suspected that Luo Qingtong already knew about this. He looked at the girl in the crowd opposite him. Luo Qingtong was looking at the place where Yi Qianxian had left. She couldn't stop smiling. She was both evil and cunning. The Grand Principal's lips twitched. Oh my God! These two people. He hoped that they would take it easy and not ruin the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. He wasn't ready to retire yet. Just as the Grand Principal was on tenterhooks, Luo Qingtong had already said something to Su Xiaoxiao and the others. She lifted her body and rushed in the direction where Yi Qianxian had left. The man's figure had long disappeared. Luo Qingtong's eyes turned. She suddenly turned around and left the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. The girl's figure flitted through the woods. Soon, Luo Qingtong's figure appeared under the waterfall where Yi Qianxian had brought them for training. The water around them had been cut off. Only the water in the middle was left. It rushed down from the cliff at the top of the mountain. Sure enough, that man had created this waterfall. Every day, he would come here to manually draw the water from the lake to the top of the mountain. Luo Qingtong liked the feeling that Yi Qianxian was doing this for her. Her lips curled up slightly as she looked at the scene in front of her. Waves of warmth surged in her heart. Humph! With a serious expression, she took out the little pig from her sleeve and placed it on the boulder in front of her. She sat cross-legged across from it and said, "Don't you think the chief instructor is a good person?" Little Pig was still in a daze when he was released. What was this woman doing? It looked at Luo Qingtong inexplicably, not knowing why she had brought it to this place. If the engagement was successfully broken, shouldn't this woman be with that man? Why did he bring it to such a desolate place? Little Pig looked around and was about to ask Luo Qingtong what was wrong with her. Suddenly, all the hair on its body stood up. Oh my God! Little Pig glared at the person behind Luo Qingtong. There, Yi Qianxian's figure appeared. He was surrounded by an obvious chill as he coldly looked at the little pig. However, Luo Qingtong didn't seem to feel anything and continued to speak. Look, this huge waterfall was specially made by the chief instructor to help us improve our strength. Isn't the chief instructor very considerate? Yi Qianxian felt a chill run down his spine as he listened. This waterfall was indeed specially made by him for this woman. However, he didn't do this to make her have a good impression of that Yi Luo. Yi Qianxian instantly felt as if he had been poached by his alias. Chapter 979. There's more. You see, the chief instructor has helped me several times in a row. Even if he's doing it for the grand principal's sake, isn't it a little too much? Moreover, if he can raise the strength of a disciple by a whole realm within a month, it's definitely tailor-made for me. As Luo Qingtong spoke, she could feel that the man behind her could no longer hold his breath. She held back her laughter and asked Little Pig in front of her with a serious expression, "Say, Chief Instructor is so nice to me. Is it because he likes me?" Actually, Yi Qianxian couldn't hold back any longer after Luo Qingtong said this. Luo Qing Tong. He gritted his teeth and pounced on the girl. As for Luo Qingtong, she had already dodged to the side the moment she finished speaking and dodged Yi Qianren's pouncing figure. Pfft! She looked at the man's dark and jealous face and thought, why is this man so cute? He's actually jealous of himself, and he's so jealous. Ha ha ha. Luo Qingtong couldn't hold it in any more and laughed. The girl's bell-like voice resounded through the waterfall and mixed with the sound of flowing water. It was indescribably pleasant to listen to. Sly. Yi Qianxian listened to the girl's laughter and looked at her smiling face. She was indescribably beautiful and sly. How could he not know that he had fallen into this woman's trap again? She was obviously saying those words to him on purpose. As Yi Qianren thought of this, she couldn't help but feel a knot of anger in her heart. She grabbed the young girl's waist and pulled her into her embrace. Luo Qingtong held back her laughter and let him pull her into his embrace. She raised her arms and wrapped them around the man's neck. She had a cheeky and wanton look on her face. She raised her eyebrows and asked, "Lord, are you surprised? Are you surprised?" Pfft! Ha! Luo Qingtong couldn't help but laugh again. Surprise, joy. Yi Qianren gritted her teeth and said word by word. Why isn't it a surprise? He was about to die of surprise. Couldn't this woman be a little more well-behaved? He almost thought that she had fallen in love with his alias, Yi Luo, and he almost exploded in anger. However, even so, Yi Qianxian was still very restrained when he grabbed Luo Qingtong. He did not want to hurt her at all. Instead, he became gentler when the young girl threw herself into his arms. He was afraid that he would accidentally pinch the little woman in his arms. Although he knew that Luo Qingtong wasn't that fragile, he couldn't help pampering and protecting this woman. Ha! Luo Qingtong looked at Yi Qianxian, who was so angry that he couldn't do anything to her, and her eyes instantly turned into crescents. She smiled sweetly as she looked at the man's dark face in front of her. She held back her laughter and raised her hand to smooth out the wrinkles on his brows. All right. Don't be angry. Luo Qingtong didn't mean to tease Yi Qianxian, but this man's reaction to her was too cute. Besides, he was so much stronger than her. She couldn't beat him every time. Wasn't she allowed to make up for it in other ways? However. Chapter 980. As she said this, she immediately hung something around Yi Qianxian's neck. Here, this is for you. She said with a smile. Yi Qianxian only felt a chill on his neck, and a jade pendant appeared in front of his chest. He lowered his head to take a look, and then the light in his eyes instantly became incomparably deep. Is it that betrothal token? He looked at the young girl in front of him and asked word by word. Yes. Luo Qingtong smiled and nodded. Lord, do you like it? I like it. The man's voice was low and hoarse. Yi Qianxian looked deeply at the little girl in front of him. He suddenly lowered his head and kissed her. How could she not like it? That was her betrothal token. She gave it to him. Did it mean that she had already opened her heart to accept him? For the first time, Yi Qianxian felt a clear response from Luo Qingtong. At this moment, some kind of emotion overflowed from the bottom of his heart, and it was about to explode. Ha! The young girl's bell-like laughter echoed in the mountain stream. Luo Qingtong raised her head and hooked her arms around Yi Qianxian's neck, and welcomed the man's enthusiasm. At this moment, the mountains, fields, lakes, and spring were incomparably brilliant. The news of Luo Qingtong defeating Yuan Ma quickly spread throughout the empire of Qin's Holy Academy. Those who didn't go to watch the gambling match were instantly shocked when they heard this news. Oh my God! Luo Qingtong actually defeated Yuan Ma. When everyone heard this, they thought it was a fantasy. However, the news that came later confirmed that what they heard was true. Luo Qingtong really defeated Yuan Ma. Furthermore, she defeated him with his unique soul skill. When this news came out, everyone was instantly speechless. Using the opponent's unique soul skill to defeat him, wasn't Luo Qingtong's talent and innate talent too amazing? However, there were also people who were suspicious. How could Luo Qingtong be so coincidental as to have the same type of soul seal as Yuan Ma? However, this suspicion was quickly suppressed by the news that Yi Qianxian had the supreme sacred token. The new chief instructor actually had the supreme sacred token. This news was even more shocking than the news of Luo Qingtong defeating Yuan Ma. For a moment, everyone was guessing Yi Qianxian's background and identity. How could he actually have such an amazing item like the supreme sacred token? After all, it was something that could only be issued by a transcendent saint. Only those who had the power to look down on the celestial dynasty could possess it. Every expert who had the supreme saint token was on equal footing with the transcendents. Whether the token belonged to the chief instructor or not, it meant that there was an extremely terrifying person behind him who could fight against the sacred dynasty. Just as everyone was discussing excitedly, Luo Qingtong's figure appeared outside the Blackfield main city of the Empire of Qin's sacred dynasty. She received the news that Yan Nyang and the others had something to report. It just so happened that Luo Qingtong had been thinking about helping Ma Chenyi solve the luck-seizing technique in his body these days. She still lacked a few medicinal herbs, so she immediately came over. Helping Ma Chunyi solve the luck-seizing technique in his body was firstly to repay his kindness of giving her the medicinal herbs, and secondly to deal with King Wu. The latter was too arrogant. Thinking of the ruthless words Mo Chenxian said before leaving, and what he said to Yu Wenma before, about making her a slave, Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. Chapter 981. What's more, the other party was backed by that heavenly doctor. Thinking of how the latter had previously interfered in the affairs of the Great Chu Empire, if she hadn't chased her grandfather to the Great Chu sacred dynasty, Empress Dowager Yan, she would have been successfully plotted against by the other party and Ning Wang. Now, he had interfered in the struggle for the throne of the Empire of Qin, and supported King Wu to fight for the throne behind the scenes. Was this a coincidence, or was it intentional? Luo Qingtong thought like this, and her figure had already rushed towards the main city of the Black Field of the Empire of Qin. Not long after she left, a petite figure suddenly appeared at the place where she was standing. Following her was indeed the right choice. Looks like she's going to the main city of the Black Field this time. I wonder if she's going to see the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Yu Xingqi's petite figure appeared at the place where Luo Qingtong was standing before. She tilted her little head and looked at the direction where the girl left. She smiled and lowered her head, and said to the little white cat in her arms, "Dudu, this time it's up to you. We have to follow her closely, don't lose her. Otherwise, it's fine if brother can't find his future bride, but I won't have any fun. So, cheer for me a bit, okay? Otherwise, I'll deduct your dried fish." Meow. Hearing Yu Xingqi's words, the little white cat in her arms suddenly called out lazily. Suddenly, it seemed to have sensed something, and the hair all over its body stood up at once. Meow. Its voice was sharp, and its eyes stared straight at a certain direction not far away. Who? Seeing the little white cat like this, Yu Xingqi's smiling expression immediately disappeared. Her sweet smiling face suddenly froze, and looking at the place where the little white cat was screaming, she coldly called out. "Humph, this beast's senses are quite sharp." In the direction Yu Xingqi was looking at, a few figures suddenly appeared. They actually sensed our existence so quickly. But, it's already too late. A few voices said with bad intentions, and immediately surrounded Yu Xingqi and the little white cat in a fan shape. "You, are the remnants of the silver sword?" Yu Xingqi's gaze swept over the auras of these people, and discovered their identities. "That's right. Yu Xingqi, just obediently let yourself be captured. Your brother annihilated our silver sword, and we will never forgive him. And the woman who helped your brother kill our silver sword elder, we won't let her go either. Take him away." That group of people waved their hands and instantly swarmed over, capturing Yu Xingqi. At the same time, Luo Qingtong had just approached the main city of the Black Field when a message flew into her hand. "If you want to save Yu Xingqi, come here." There was a map attached to the letter, and it was not far from the Black Field's main city. Luo Qingtong looked at the letter and narrowed her eyes. Imperial Star Qi? Why does this name sound familiar? As Luo Qingtong thought about it, she suddenly thought of the little girl who had helped her to diss Su Jinhua. Didn't the other party say her name was Imperial Star Qi? So, she was the Imperial Star Qi mentioned in the letter? But what does her being captured have to do with me? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. At this moment, the little pig in her arms looked at the contents of the letter and suddenly said, "Imperial Star Qi, is it related to that Yu Xihuang?" Hearing this, Luo Qingtong also seemed to have reacted. She recalled the sage stage elder she had killed when she was refining the youthful rejuvenation pill. Chapter 982. Luo Qingtong thought like this and immediately understood. No wonder this letter was sent to her. The other party probably didn't know her true identity and only saw her face from the image of that sage realm elder before he died. They thought that her relationship with Yu Xihuang wasn't shallow, so this letter was sent to her. If that was the case, then it could explain why this letter was sent to her, Luo Qingtong's hands and not the evil Dr. Ghost Eye's hands. But if the other party knew that she was the evil Dr. Ghost Eye, then they wouldn't have the guts to come and seek revenge. Luo Qingtong thought like this and immediately kept the letter. Turning around, she rushed towards the location marked on the letter. She was never a person who liked to raise a tiger and invite calamity. Since the other party had come to seek revenge, then naturally she had to get rid of them all, so as to avoid any more unexpected complications. Luo Qingtong never looked down on anyone, no matter if the other party was powerful or not, because she herself had risen from insignificance and adversity. In her previous life, other people's contempt towards her gave her the opportunity to escape and rise, achieving the prestige of the Supreme Eye Technique Master. Then these Silver Sword's remaining members, who knew if they would implicate even more trouble? Compared to using soldiers to block water with an earth weir, Luo Qingtong preferred to take precautions. Nip all the threats in the bud, not giving the other party the slightest chance to grow. Shua. Following Luo Qingtong's leap, she rushed towards the location marked on the letter. In a simple wooden house 1,000 meters away from the Black Field's main city, a group of Silver Sword people were looking at Yu Xingqi, who was tied up like a fried dough twist. "Elder, why didn't you just kill her directly?" a Silver Sword disciple said indignantly. Just now, in order to catch Yu Xingqi, they had lost several people. This little slut was really cunning, all kinds of tricks were endless, and that cat by her side was also very cunning. If they didn't have so many people, they really wouldn't be able to catch her. Fortunately, Yu Xingqi was alone outside, otherwise they definitely wouldn't be able to catch her. With such a good opportunity, why didn't the elder directly kill the other party? He even wanted to catch her with great fanfare. Humph. What do you know? The group of Silver Sword people were very embarrassed. That Silver Sword elder also seemed to have suffered heavy injuries. He coughed and scolded that disciple. "You see, Huang's strength is very strong. Before, when he had heart disease, we couldn't deal with him. Now that his heart disease has been cured and his strength has increased greatly, he no longer has any worries. How are we going to take revenge?" he shouted sternly. "If we catch Yu Xingqi in our hands, then you, use at that time, we can take the opportunity. Then we's right, we, SSSSS, we's SSSSSSSSSSSSTs, teet. As for the woman who helped you see Huang, when she arrives, I will make her wish she was dead. Let her know the consequences of offending the Silver Sword." The elder with the Silver Sword said with an extremely cold expression. "Yes." The Silver Sword members hurriedly agreed. At this time, Luo Qingtong had already approached the forest. Looking at the place where the wooden house was, she suddenly raised her eyebrows. Chapter 983. The bloody light in her eyes flashed, and she activated her pupil technique. As Luo Qingtong's gaze swept over, the auras of the people in and around the wooden house were instantly under her control. After Luo Qingtong's strength increased, the power of her pupil technique also became stronger. It wouldn't take long for her to return to the peak state of her previous life. At that time, Luo Qingtong's pair of blood-red eyes were truly unbreakable and invincible. However, that was in the 24th century. Now, in this strange world, experts were emerging one after another. Luo Qingtong was looking forward to seeing how far her pupil technique would improve in the future. She liked the feeling of controlling everything in power. Only when a person stood at the peak of a mountain could he be qualified to maneuver unhindered. Luo Qingtong had been reckless all her life. Even though she had transmigrated, she wasn't willing to submit to others. There are quite a lot of people here. Luo Qingtong's gaze swept over the wooden house. When she saw the people hiding in and around it, she raised her eyebrows slightly. A sage realm expert, several martial spirits, martial ancestors, and a group of martial emperors. There were about 100 people. Compared to a sage realm sect, these people were pitifully weak. They should be the surviving members of that sect who had escaped. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows slightly when she sensed their auras. Then, she raised her eyebrows and the corner of her lips curled up devilishly. She instantly bypassed the wooden house and continued to plunge deeper. The Blackfield main city of the Empire of Qin's Holy Dynasty was surrounded by mountains on three sides. The mountain range behind it rose and fell in an unrestrained manner. It was very majestic and magnificent. The Empire of Qin's Blackfield main city was never short of resources in such a place. Many martial artists and spirit practitioners even came here to hunt and kill demon beasts. Luo Qingtong's figure went deeper into the mountain range. Little Pig was dumbfounded when he saw her raise her hand from time to time and pull out some herbs along the way. She instantly crushed them into liquid and splashed them around. "What are you doing?" She had almost circled around the mountain range. She had explored more than half of the mountain range at lightning speed. At first, Little Pig thought she was setting a trap. In the end, he didn't stop at all. Just like that, they strolled through a large mountain range. He only stayed in the center of the mountain range for a while. Little Pig's heart was bursting with curiosity. It knew that Luo Qingtong must be preparing to deal with the people from Silver Sword. But it couldn't tell. What should they do? Little Pig felt that ever since he contracted with this woman, his intelligence had always been looked down upon. "You'll know when the time comes." Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. Her lips curled up slightly as she looked around. When she found that it was about time, she rushed towards the wooden house. And at this time, Yu Xingqi already woke up from his coma. She looked at the group of Silver Sword members, blinked innocently, and said, "I say, you've really caught the wrong person. My brother and I have never gotten along since we were young. Don't you know how happy he was when you captured me?" Sigh. She sighed deeply. "You don't know this, but the position of the sect master was supposed to be passed to me, but you also know that I'm still young. So my brother took it away from me. You've really made a big mistake by capturing me. If you let me go, I can still compete with my brother for the position of sect master. You've captured me and killed me. Aren't you going against my brother's wishes?" Chapter 984. If you want to use me to threaten my brother, then you're wrong. You can see that I don't even have a guard when I'm outside, so you know my position in my brother's heart. You'd better let me go quickly. As Yu Xingqi spoke, he cried pitifully. "Humph! Yu Xingqi, you little witch, don't say these things to sway our hearts. Even if Yu Sihuang doesn't care about your life or death, so what? If we kill you, it will be a heavy blow to Imperial Sect's prestige. You just stay here obediently, wait for us to kill that woman who spoiled our plans, then we'll bring you to find Yu Sihuang. Look at his ugly face. Ha ha." The elder of the Silver Sword sect laughed loudly. "Who is the woman who spoiled your plans?" Yu Xingqi blinked her eyes and asked. "They couldn't be talking about that evil Dr. Ghost Eye, right? That woman who saved her brother?" Just as she was thinking about this, she heard that Silver Sword elder coldly said, "Of course it's that woman who saved your brother and caused our Silver Sword's plan to be ruined, exterminating our entire family." Just as his voice fell, they instantly heard a voice coming from outside. "Is that so? So I actually did such a big thing, no wonder Yu Sihuang wanted to travel thousands of miles to give me a gift." Following this voice, with a bang, the wooden house's door was kicked open. A figure instantly appeared in front of everyone. Her clothes were red like fire, her face was like a hibiscus, beautiful enough to topple cities, evil and enchanting. The young girl who appeared in front of them was evil and domineering to the extreme, also enchanting and charming to the extreme. Luo Qingtong. Seeing the figure of the young girl who appeared in front of her, Yu Xingqi's little mouth instantly opened wide, that pair of intelligent eyes also instantly froze for a moment. "Oh my God! What did she just hear?" Luo Qingtong was evil Dr. Ghost Eye. That beautiful young girl who saved her brother and was constantly mentioned by the latter? As Yu Xingqi thought this, that little mouth of his suddenly opened even wider. She completely didn't think in that direction, to the extent that she was somewhat dumbfounded. This result was simply too shocking. Who would have thought that the young lady who had risen from an inferior country was actually the famous evil Dr. Ghost Eye who was sought after by everyone? Oh, right. At this time, Yu Xingqi remembered that according to the information he had before, Luo Qingtong came from the eastern border country. And evil Dr. Ghost Eye had risen from the Blackfield city of the eastern border country. But who could link the two of them together? Evil Dr. Ghost Eye became famous in a single day. He was valiant and evil, and incomparably domineering. And Luo Qingtong was only the daughter of a small marquis. Who would have thought that she was the evil Dr. Ghost Eye? Just as Yu Xingqi's small mouth slightly opened and her almond-shaped eyes widened, on the other side, Silver Sword still didn't know Luo Qingtong's identity. The moment they saw the girl appear, their gazes were fixed on Luo Qingtong's face. That's her. Seeing this very familiar face, the crowd of Silver Sword people immediately cried out. Kill her. That Silver Sword elder flicked his sleeves and said, simply disdaining to make a move. Bang, bang, bang. As his voice sounded, in an instant, the entire wooden house was filled with an incomparably unrestrained aura from all directions. Chapter 985. Go to hell. A group of people's aura moved like a net, heading towards Luo Qingtong to shroud her. In the sky and on the ground, there is no escape. But that's for other people. In an instant, the bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes shines. In an instant, a bloody light soars from the depths of her eyes. Originally, her clear eyes were filled with red mist, but in an instant, they become bloody and incomparably strange. Luo Qingtong's beautiful face turned demonic in an instant. She was like a demon that bewitched people's hearts. If you want to kill me, then come. Luo Qingtong says, and in an instant, her figure moves. The wind and thunder sword in her hand comes out of its sheath. Clang! An extremely accurate sword, passing through a group of people's aura, in an instant, those ropes tied to Yu Xingqi's body are all cut open. Go! After saying that, her voice also quickly rushes out. The girl's steps are like moving clouds and flowing water, naturally graceful to the extreme. It's almost the most perfect posture. Every step is just right, just enough to avoid those auras coming from all directions. In an instant, she rushes out of the door. If you have the ability, then come and chase. Luo Qingtong says, and her figure instantly disappears from everyone's eyes, rushing towards the mountain forest. Chase! The Silver Sword Sect elder flew into a rage. When he saw that Yu Xingqi had also disappeared, the veins on his forehead popped out. In any case, they must leave one of them behind today. Since Luo Qingtong let Yu Xingqi go, then she will use herself as compensation. In any case, the other side is also Yu Sihuang's savior. Catching the other side, and killing him in front of Yu Sihuang, can also achieve their goal. Thinking like this, he suddenly waves his hand, leading a group of Silver Sword people to chase. Swish swish swish. Luo Qingtong's speed is extremely fast. Her figure in the dense forest, erratically moving forward, making the group of Silver Sword people behind her unable to catch her track. The members of the Silver Sword sect were so angry that they were stamping with rage. Especially that Silver Sword elder, using the power of the Sage Realm, but he still can't stop Luo Qingtong, making the blue veins on his forehead jump. How could he know that Luo Qingtong was able to easily escape from Yi Qianqian's hands, let alone him? The magical effect of the eye technique, in this mountain forest, is even more displayed to the extreme. Luo Qingtong's every step, every landing, is in Silver Sword people's blind spot. So that they can see her figure, but they can't catch her trace. The group of people moved forward at high speed. Follow this woman, even if we have to waste, we have to kill her. After the elder of the Silver Sword sect unleashed his holy stage power several times in a row to no avail, he gave up completely. He gritted his teeth and shouted. He doesn't believe that Luo Qingtong, a martial emperor, can waste more time than them. Let her run. Let's see how long she can run. When she starts to exhaust her strength, they will take her down. At that time, she will suffer a fate worse than death. That Silver Sword elder's face is cold and stern. Swish swish swish. The group of people quickly moved in the mountain range, startling waves of insects and birds. Soon, Luo Qingtong's figure stopped. Humph. You can't run anymore, right? That Silver Sword elder's face is ferocious. Chapter 986. Later, I will let you know what it means to wish you were dead. The Silver Sword elder laughed coldly. Everyone will have a share. Let's have a taste of the savior of the king of the southern region. As he spoke, his face was filled with coldness and lust. Don't worry, later. I will fulfill all of your wishes. Luo Qingtong crossed her arms in front of her chest and stood where she was, looking calm and relaxed. Her posture was strange. She was standing right in the middle of the group of people. Humph. Shameless boasting. You are about to die and you are still talking big. When the Silver Sword elder heard her words, he used his divine consciousness to scan the surroundings to make sure that there was no ambush or killing intent. This woman must be lying to them. Did she think that they would be scared? Is that so? Luo Qingtong looked at them and suddenly smiled evilly. What these people didn't know was that she, Evil Eye, was never one to boast, and she never lied. She was a woman of her words and her actions were resolute. Snap. Luo Qingtong raised her hand and snapped her fingers. Pa! It was as if the entire forest could hear this sound. Little b asterisk tch, what the hell are you doing? The Silver Sword elder looked serious. He did not know why, but he had a bad feeling that he could not get rid of. This was the heavenly perception of a sage. At their level, their every move was in sync with the spiritual chi of heaven and earth and they could sense danger. However, the girl in front of him was only a martial emperor. She was all alone. So what if she was powerful? Could she be so powerful that she could defeat and kill all of them? The Silver Sword elder did not believe it. That was simply impossible. Someone who could do such a thing must not be human. However, he soon realized what Luo Qingtong had done. Snap, snap, snap. As the young girl snapped her fingers, they heard the sound. It was as if something was pulling them, pa pa pa. Around the entire mountain range, in the places where Luo Qingtong had wandered before, in the woods and under the grass, there seemed to be a domino effect. From the place where Luo Qingtong stood, there seemed to be a continuous line that spread outwards. Pa pa pa. A series of explosions rang out. The places where Luo Qingtong had splashed something with a wave of her hand were now filled with mist. In an instant, the entire mountain range seemed to be shrouded in a faint layer of mist. Awo! Roar! Roar! As the smoke rose, the eyes of all the demonic beasts in the entire mountain range that smelled the smoke instantly turned red. The aura of the smoke stimulated them, causing them to lose their minds and fall into a state of madness. Beast-attracting powder. The things that Luo Qingtong had splashed along the road were shockingly beast-attracting powder aimed at various demon beasts, which could stimulate them to go crazy. Boom, boom, boom. All the demon beasts that had smelled the smoke instantly ran madly towards the place where the smoke was spreading. And the destination of the smoke was the place where Luo Qingtong and the others were standing. At the same time, buzz. Chapter 987. An array. Seeing these bright silver lights, the Silver Sword Sect elder's expression suddenly froze. Then, he raised his voice and sneered. Do you think you can stop us with just this formation? Ridiculous. There were so many of them here. He didn't believe that Luo Qingtong could set up an advanced array. So what if she set up a sage array? In the face of absolute power, all her struggles were futile. The elder of the Silver Sword Sect sneered. That's right. Luo Qingtong's smile was faint and wanton. In the face of absolute power, all your struggles are futile. So, don't even think about struggling. Just enjoy it. When her voice rang out, the people of the Silver Sword Sect immediately felt that something was wrong. They suddenly realized that the array formation that had lit up around them was actually an entrapment-type defensive array formation. This array enveloped them and Luo Qingtong, making it impossible for them to escape. What was going on? What the hell was this woman doing? The people from the Silver Sword Sect originally thought that Luo Qingtong's array formation was an offensive one, and its purpose was to deal with them. But now, this array's function was to trap them here. Luo Qingtong was also in the array. What was she trying to do? Just when the Silver Sword elders were feeling uneasy, rumble. Suddenly, the sound of fierce galloping rang out around them. The sound of 4 hooves and feet stomping on the ground was so intense. At the same time, howls rang out one after another. The whole mountain forest seemed to shake in an instant. The earth shook, and the trees trembled. Hearing these sounds, the Silver Sword elder's expression changed greatly. A beast tide. It was a beast tide. The members of the Silver Sword Sect were completely flustered. They never thought that a beast tide would break out here. Where was this place? The main city of the Black Field of the Empire of Qin. The surrounding mountains were all cleared by the powerhouses of the Black Field. With the powerhouses of the Black Field in the main city of the Empire of Qin, the demon beasts in the nearby mountains were all well-behaved and could hunt the powerhouses who entered the mountains. But they couldn't assemble into an army. Otherwise, they would be killed by the powerhouses of the Black Field. How could there be a beast tide here? Furthermore, from the sounds, it seemed like the beast tide was coming for them. You actually triggered a beast tide. The Silver Sword elder finally understood what Luo Qingtong's words meant. This woman had actually attracted the beast tide and even trapped them here. Was she crazy? She was also here. Was she prepared to perish together with them? That Silver Sword Sect elder looked at Luo Qingtong like he was looking at a lunatic. Quickly stop the beast tide. Otherwise, you will die too. His expression was ugly. He had to admit that Luo Qingtong's move of fighting back from the brink of death was a real threat to him. The strength of their group was simply not enough in front of this beast tide that blotted out the sky and covered the earth. No matter how powerful he was as a powerhouse of the Sage realm, it would be difficult for him to escape once he was surrounded by the beast tide. Moreover, there might be sacred beasts in this mountain range. Chapter 988. If you release this restriction and remove the beast tide, I can swear to the heavens that we, Silver Sword, will never attack you again. Silver Sword will no longer attack her, but Silver Sword already exists in name only. As long as they get rid of this name, they can still attack Luo Qingtong. At that time, they will make her more miserable than now. That Silver Sword elder's eyes are hiding ruthlessness and insidiousness. He thought that Luo Qingtong did this just to force them to compromise. Wait until they get through this crisis, he will make the other side miserable. However, just as he was thinking this, he heard Luo Qingtong's indifferent expression, "Is it?" Unfortunately. The girl's smile is beautiful and enchanting, evil and charming. You are willing to let me go, but I am not willing to let you go. Cut the grass without removing the roots, it will grow again when the spring breeze blows. These people have seen her true face, they know that she is the one who saved you Sihuang, sooner or later they will know her identity as evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Luo Qingtong never likes to leave future troubles. Since the other side provoked her, she will use this as an opportunity to completely eradicate them. Anyone who threatens her, Luo Qingtong will not allow them to have any chance to live. These people must die. Rumble. The sound of those beasts galloping is even more intense. All around, demon beasts have appeared with ferocious faces and huge bodies. Their mouths are dripping with saliva, their mouths are wide open, their eyes are crazy, looking at the silver sword people in the middle of the open space, as if they are looking at delicious food and the target of hatred. Luo Qingtong arranged the beast powder in the mountains. After the explosion, the smell is enough to make all the demon beasts in the mountains go crazy. She set up such a trap here, in order to make the silver sword people invite you into the trap. Rumble. As the smell of the beast powder spread, a large number of demon beasts came. Those demon beasts that arrived first have already launched an attack on the silver sword people. In their eyes, these people in front of them are all enemies and food. Break out. Let's break out of here. The silver sword people shouted loudly and attacked the array in front of them with all their might. However, what shocked them was that no matter how they attacked, the array in front of them didn't budge at all. Saint Realm Array. The Silver Sword Elder's expression finally turned into one of horror. He originally thought that Luo Qingtong had just casually arranged an array formation to trap them. What he was truly fearful of was the beast tide. Who would have thought that the other party had set up a saint stage array? How was this possible? The other party was only a martial royal at such a young age. How could he have set up a saint state formation? This was something that could only be set up by a saint-level spiritual array master. It could only be activated with the aura of a saint realm expert. What he didn't know was that with Luo Qingtong's eye technique, she could activate the saint realm formation in a short period of time with a relatively low strength. Although this array formation could only last for a limited time, it was enough to trap them in the beast tide and make them unable to extricate themselves. Luo Qingtong's purpose was not to trap them in this array formation, but to make it impossible for them to escape from this beast tide. Rumble. While the people of the Silver Sword Sect were frantically attacking the formation, the demonic beasts that were rushing over from all directions also arrived. Bang, bang, bang. Chapter 989. Attacks flashed one after another in the sky above the open space. The auras pierced through the sky. The howls of the ferocious beasts and the screams of the Silver Sword people were endless. Looking at the people of the Silver Sword people he brought here, under the siege of the demon beasts, the Silver Sword Elder's body emitted a burst of coldness. He looked at the center of the open space, at the girl with a happy and calm face, and asked with difficulty, "Who are you?" A girl who can attract so many demon beasts with beast-attracting powder, a girl who can casually set up a sage realm array in this open space, that Silver Sword Elder was very sure, he had never heard of such a girl's reputation. If the other party was so powerful, it was absolutely impossible for him not to have heard of it. The other party, who is she? I thought, you should have already guessed it. It seems that my previous disguise was too good. Luo Qingtong said, and raised her hand to cover her face with the Rakshasa ghost mask. The girl's temperament changed in an instant. It became androgynous, strong, and evil. Before, Luo Qingtong's temperament was enchanting and charming, domineering and evil. But now, her temperament was a bit more androgynous, making her look a lot colder and more domineering. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Looking at the Rakshasa ghost mask that appeared in front of him, that Silver Sword Elder's complexion became completely pale. He guessed the identity of countless girls, including that place. But he didn't expect that Luo Qingtong's identity turned out to be that popular youth in the Black Field, and even in the entire Eastern Domain, Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. How could it be her? Evil Dr. Ghost Eye was actually a girl. That Silver Sword Elder's complexion turned ashen. He finally remembered the news that he and the others had inquired about before. Yu Sihuang brought gifts to visit the Black Field, but was driven out by the Black Field's Ming Zun. They thought that Yu Sihuang was going to visit the Black Field's Ming Zun, but he ended up offending the other party and was kicked out. Now it seemed that he wasn't going to visit Ming Zun in the Black Field. Obviously, he went to thank Luo Qingtong for saving his life, but he was kicked out by the jealous Ming Zun of the Black Field. It was said that the Black Field's Ming Zun had fallen in love with the evil doctor, Ghost Eye. He didn't even care that the other party was a man and spoiled him wholeheartedly. Now, it seemed that these words were not false. In fact, it was even worse. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye was actually a woman. No wonder the Black Field Underworld Venerable fell in love with her. The Silver Sword Elder couldn't help but shudder when he thought that the target of their revenge was actually the evil Dr. Gui Tong. The Black Field's Underworld Venerables had terrifying means, and their strength was sky-high. They actually dared to attack evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Even if they weren't trapped here today, Ming Zun would definitely not let them off. Hateful that they didn't know anything. Otherwise, no matter how much hatred he had, he could only swallow it down. How could he possibly make a move against Luo Qingtong? However, it was too late to say anything now. That Silver Sword Elder's heart was filled with fear and regret. In the end, it all turned into a desperate madness. No matter what, they had already offended this person, so they definitely couldn't let her leave here. First, they had to capture the other party, then after they escaped from the Beast Tide, they would kill her. Luo Qingtong definitely had a way to leave the Beast Tide. Chapter 990. In an instant, the power of the Saint Realm burst out and rushed toward Luo Qingtong. However, Luo Qingtong's figure had already rushed up when his expression changed. The girl's figure was as light as a butterfly, her robe fluttering like wings. Her figure rushed out in an instant and wandered among the crowd of demonic beasts. Rumble. Countless demonic beasts came one after another, their roars like thunder, roaring and raging. The bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes flickered. Her figure was like moving clouds and flowing water among the crowd of demonic beasts. That was the peak of the perfect body movement. Luo Qingtong's figure wandered among the demonic beasts. With the help of the crowd of demonic beasts, she avoided the attacks of the Silver Sword Elder. The wind and thunder sword in her hand blasted out one sword light after another. Luo Qingtong's eyes reflected the circulation of the aura of the Silver Sword Elder. Boom boom boom. The sleeves of the Silver Sword Elder's robe fluttered. His whole body was shrouded in a layer of valiant aura. The power of heaven and earth around him moved in response, forming a complete vacuum around him. All the attacks of Luo Qingtong and the demonic beasts were blocked. Humph. His face was ferocious. Evil Dr. Gui Tong, don't struggle anymore. Those below the Saint Realm are all ants. I don't know how you killed my elder. But you must have borrowed the power of Yu Sihuang. Today, I'll let you know what the real power of the Saint Realm is. The Silver Sword Elder said. With a boom, the power of heaven and earth around him surged out. In an instant, the demonic beasts within dozens of meters of Luo Qingtong all screamed miserably and were torn to pieces by the violent power of heaven and earth. In an instant, Luo Qingtong's surroundings became a vacuum. The girl's figure was exposed from the crowd of demonic beasts. Seeing this, the elder of the Silver Sword Sect laughed complacently. Evil Dr. Gui Tong, come over here. As he spoke, he raised his hand to grab Luo Qingtong. However, just as his spirit energy palm was about to grab Luo Qingtong's body trembled. The young girl's lowered head slowly lifted up. I see it. In the hideous ghost face, Luo Qingtong's smile was faint and evil. The blood-red light in her eyes surged violently. The surging aura of the Silver Sword Sect's elder was reflected in it. There was a place where the aura was much weaker than the other places. Moreover, at this moment, after the other party had used his saint stage power to kill those demonic beasts, it was obvious that he had exposed his true strength. This place was naturally invisible to the eyes of others. After all, how powerful was a Saint Realm expert? Even if the strength of this silver sword expert was slightly weaker, those who were not at the same level as him would not be able to tell. But Luo Qingtong was different. Her eye technique had completely identified all the weaknesses that the other party had revealed at this moment. Swoosh! The corners of the young girl's lips curled up wickedly. In the next second, the life and death sword appeared in Luo Qingtong's hands. Then, with the heart of the thousand-year soul guiding tree in her hand, countless Yin soul power was absorbed and transformed into Luo Qingtong's body. Heaven-conquering art. Luo Qingtong's sword slashed forward fiercely. In an instant, the attack was earth-shattering. It cut through the sky and split the firmament. With a domineering determination, it charged forward violently with an indomitable momentum. Rumble. Chapter 991. The spiritual energy palm that was about to attack Luo Qingtong was ruthlessly cut open. The Silver Sword Elder, who was laughing and leaping into the air, opened his palm to grab Luo Qingtong. His face suddenly turned cold, and his pupils constricted. The next second, rumble. His figure was immediately sent flying. A violent explosion came from his body. However, when the smoke and dust dissipated, the Silver Sword Elder's figure was revealed. Although he was in an extremely sorry state, he didn't suffer any serious injuries. Evil Dr. Gui Tong, I told you, you can't do anything to me. A Sage Realm expert isn't as simple as you think. He laughed loudly. Is that so? Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes, then smiled lightly and said, Who told you that this move of mine was a killing move? As soon as Luo Qingtong's voice fell, the wind and clouds in the sky suddenly changed. Rumble. A huge whirlpool suddenly appeared in everyone's sight. Following the appearance of this whirlpool, the surrounding demonic beasts all wailed and knelt on the ground. Even if the madness in their eyes didn't diminish, the dual pressure from their bloodline and soul forced them to kneel in fear. Bang! When all the demonic beasts were prostrating, a loud and sonorous cry sounded. In the next second, a huge claw suddenly stretched out and pressed heavily on the Silver Sword Elder's body. The tip of the claw pierced through the Silver Sword Elder where Luo Qingtong had previously attacked. Boom! The corpse of the Silver Sword Sect's Elder fell to the ground. Before he died, his eyes were still wide open. He didn't know what was going on. Where did that huge claw come from? Such a terrifying aura. What level of demonic beast was the opponent? Puff! When the Silver Sword Sect Elder died, Little Pig's miniature pig form appeared in the sky and dropped to the ground with a plop. Luo Qingtong raised her hand and scooped Little Pig into her bosom. On her forehead, the seal of the contract flashed, and her body staggered for a moment. Oh my God, you scared Grandpa Pig to death. Luckily, that Silver Sword Elder was stupid. Little Pig patted his chest with his little pig trotter. As it turned out, Luo Qingtong's heaven-conquering art was only a feint. The real killing move was Little Pig's true form after the seal was lifted. Fortunately, that Silver Sword Elder was injured. Otherwise, with Little Pig's sealed strength, it would have been difficult to deal with him. Plop! Plop! Seeing that the Silver Sword Elder had died in Luo Qingtong's hands, the Silver Sword Elders who were still strenuously resisting the tide of demonic beasts immediately knelt on the ground and cried bitterly, begging Luo Qingtong to spare their lives. All right. Luo Qingtong looked at them indifferently, but her eyes were filled with evil. As long as you can come out from under them alive, I'll spare your lives. Previously, these people said that they wanted to have a taste of their savior, the Southern Region King. Now, she would let them have a taste. As Luo Qingtong spoke, she raised her hand. Instantly, The eyes of those beasts that had gone mad and lost their rationality turned green. They panted heavily and looked like they were aroused. No. Chapter 992. At this time, they finally understood that Luo Qingtong had no intention of letting them go. There were so many demon beasts here, it was impossible for them to come out alive. They could only be gang-raped to death. They had just threatened Luo Qingtong, and their expressions were still vivid in their minds. Now, they had to taste the bitter fruit themselves. Moreover, Luo Qingtong's methods were countless times more ruthless and cold than theirs. No. The group of people rolled and crawled, running away with snot and tears streaming down their faces. However, they couldn't even run away in that kind of situation, let alone now. Before they could run far, they were caught up by a group of demonic beasts, who were panting heavily, and stopped. Ah! Mournful cries echoed in the sky. At this moment, these Silver Sword members must be extremely regretful. If they knew this would be the result, they wouldn't have provoked Luo Qingtong. But now, it was all too late. Oh my God! So explosive. Little Pig was held in Luo Qingtong's arms. He stretched his neck and looked at the scene behind him that was not suitable for children, and clicked his tongue in his heart. Oh my God, Luo Qingtong's methods are too terrifying. Offending her is indeed worse than death. These Silver Sword members were probably regretting their actions to death. If they knew this would be the result, they wouldn't have begged for mercy. Being bitten to death and swallowed by demon beasts was better than being gang-raped to death. Just as he was thinking, a jade-white hand suddenly blocked his eyes. Dirty! Luo Qingtong said and flicked his forehead. A human and a pig walked out of the mountain range. Before they walked far, Luo Qingtong's brows suddenly furrowed. She stopped and looked ahead. A group of people appeared in her line of sight. Yenyu? Luo Qingtong looked at the group of people in front of her. The man that was surrounded in the center had a sharp and fierce aura, and his figure was tall and handsome like an unsheathed sharp sword. It was precisely Yenyu. The man's aura was much more harmonious than when Luo Qingtong had first met him. He must have listened to her suggestion and improved the circulation of his meridians, and corrected the drawbacks of the incomplete sword technique. At this moment, Luo Qingtong's pupil technique had not been completely withdrawn. Her gaze swept across the group of people and she discovered that their auras were almost all at the martial spirit realm. Only one or two of them were martial ancestors, and they were at the peak of the martial ancestor realm. As for Yenyu, who was surrounded in the middle, her aura had already fused perfectly, and she could break through to the saint realm at any time. These people were not weak. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows when she thought of the extraordinary news of the Lanhua family that she had heard in Tianyu Empire. He didn't know if the Lanhua family had such power and influence because of the Lanhua jade. It was said that he had left home at a young age and was taken away by a powerful expert a long time ago. He didn't return to the Lanhua family until he became an adult and could practice. Judging from the aura of this group of people, they seemed to come from a very powerful place. And it seemed that they were not inferior to the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin in the slightest. They were even much stronger than the latter. When Luo Qingtong saw Yenyu and the others, the latter and the others also noticed her. Who is it? The group of people swept over to her. Seeing their movements, Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed and she raised her hand to put away the Rakshasa ghost mask on her face. Chapter 993. Her movements were extremely fast, and because she came out from the forest, Yenyu and the others did not see her appearance, nor did they know that she was wearing the Rakshasa ghost mask. Miss Luo? Yenyu brought people forward, only to find that the person opposite was actually someone familiar. Young Master Yenyu. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She was not surprised that Yenyu would recognize her. Presumably, old Master Yenyu told him. However, Yan Yuju was still a reliable person. Luo Qingtong did not care that the other party knew her identity. In any case, she was not afraid of her identity being exposed now. The reason why she was still hiding it was just a subconscious action. It was always right to have more trump cards. Why did she have to deliberately flip everything over for others to see? Luo Qingtong liked to see the expressions of those who looked down on her when they finally realized that they had kicked an iron plate. It could be considered her bad taste. I didn't expect it to be you. The light in Yan Yuju's eyes was pleasantly surprised. Why are you here? When he said this, as if afraid that Luo Qingtong would misunderstand, he hurriedly said, "It's very dangerous here." Did you come alone? Yan Yuju knew that Luo Qingtong was very powerful. When she was a martial king, she had once killed a martial emperor powerhouse of the Tianyu imperial family. However, the latter was injured at that time. Moreover, this was the depths of the mountain range near the main city of the Black Field. Demonic beasts were everywhere, and their strength was tyrannical. Powerhouses below the martial emperor realm did not dare to enter at all. Only powerhouses above the martial emperor realm dared to enter together. Yan Yuju also glanced around and found that there was no one secretly following and protecting Luo Qingtong. That was why she asked this question. Didn't they say that the Black Field's Ming Zun was in love with Luo Qingtong? Why didn't they send someone to guard her? It seemed that the previous rumors, as her grandfather said, were false. For some reason, when she thought of this, Yan Yuju's heart unconsciously surged with traces of joy. Luo Qingtong responded in a low voice and did not say anything else. At this moment, a girl in a pink robe beside Yan Yuju suddenly said, "Senior brother, you know her? Who is she?" Song Yen stared enviously at the young lady before her, who was so beautiful that she could topple cities. Especially since the other party seemed to be very familiar with Yan Yuju, it made her even more jealous. Thinking back to the last time Yan Yuju went home to visit her relatives, she kept mentioning a Miss Luo. It couldn't be this person in front of her, right? At the thought of this, Song Yen looked at Luo Qingtong with displeasure. You're just a martial emperor. Why are you alone in the depths of this mountain range? He must be lying. She looked at Luo Qingtong with a cold snort. She was very disdainful of the other party's cultivation. The other party must have come with his companions. He was deliberately not telling the truth. Was he hiding something? As she thought of this, she suddenly thought of the beast tide that had erupted in the mountains earlier. Just a moment ago, an extremely huge beast tide that seemed to engulf everything suddenly erupted. Even though they were not weak, they could only temporarily avoid the brunt of the attack. They were all guessing in their hearts that some kind of treasure had appeared, causing the demonic beasts in the mountain range to become so restless. From the looks of it, perhaps it was true? And that treasure had been obtained by Luo Qingtong? As Song Yen thought of this, she was instantly certain. You're hiding something, aren't you? Could it be that you've obtained something from the beast tide that had just erupted? Chapter 994. Why, are you afraid that we'll covet your things? As she spoke, she sneered coldly. What a joke. But you really don't have the right to have such good things. That beast tide riot was still vivid in their minds. It was not something that could be compared to an ordinary beast tide. They had stayed in the safe zone for a long time until just now when the beast tide started to retreat. They then followed the tracks and chased over. If there really was a treasure, it would be a waste for the other party to get it. They might as well give it to them. As for her, on account of senior brother Yenyue, they would just give her some money and resources to send her off. Anyway, for someone of her strength, to be able to get some resources from their own sect, she would probably go crazy with joy. Song Yen thought and said proudly, "How about this? What did you get? Show it to us. If it's good, we'll give you a suitable price." So that you won't get into trouble because of your wealth. Her words were very arrogant and bossy. It was as if her snatching Luo Qingtong's things was a huge favor to the latter. Not to mention that Luo Qingtong did not get anything at all. Even if she got it, she would not show it to them. Luo Qingtong's gaze was cold. She was about to speak when Yan Yuju's face darkened. Junior sister Yan, what do you mean? Miss Luo is my friend. Whatever she got, that was her business. It has nothing to do with us. As he spoke, he apologized to Luo Qingtong. Miss Luo, I'm sorry. Junior sister is rude. Before he could finish his sentence, Song Yan, who was standing on the other side of the room, had already cried out in dissatisfaction. Senior brother Yenyue, what do you mean? Because of this woman, you're lecturing me? Song Yan had been spoiled rotten in the sect. This time when she went out, all the senior and junior brothers gave in to her. Being lectured by Yan Yuju without warning, she could not hold back the anger in her heart. Besides, she did not like Luo Qingtong to begin with. Glaring fiercely at Luo Qingtong, Song Yan said coldly, I didn't say I was going to snatch her things. I just wanted her to show it to us. I'll buy it. Why? Can't I do that? She raised her head. As soon as these self-righteous words came out, Yan Yuju's expression instantly turned completely cold. Taking other people's things were her own and she still asked them if it was okay? He didn't know how to face Luo Qingtong after hearing her say such things. If he had known that the end result, he would not have brought them to Luo Qingtong. At this moment, a crisp and beautiful voice suddenly rang out. Aya, look what I just saw. How shameless. Some people are so self-righteous when they snatch other people's things. How shameless. Big sister, how old are you? And you? I have some rubbish here. Do you want it? I can give it to you for free. Take it as charity. As she spoke, a petite figure suddenly appeared in front of everyone. Was it that little girl? Luo Qingtong looked at the little lowly who appeared in front of everyone and raised her eyebrows. She recognized that the one who appeared here was Yu Xingqi. Chapter 995. Luo Qingtong looked at Song Yan's ashen face and raised her eyebrows. She crossed her arms and watched the show. Ha ha ha. Yu Xingqi carried the little white cat and ran to Luo Qingtong's side. He made a face at Song Yan and said, What, are you angry? You're shameless and won't let others say it. If you have the ability, go to the southern mountain range and settle the score with me. I'm called Yu Xingqi. My brother is called Yu Sihuang. You're welcome to find trouble. Yu Xingqi didn't hesitate to sell out his brother. He didn't know if Yu Sihuang would be angered to death here. Every time this girl caused trouble outside, she would throw it to him to wipe her ass. But in Yu Xingqi's opinion, wasn't his brother used to be sold out? That's right, he was also used to support her. Seeing Song Yan's expression change, Yu Xingqi nodded in satisfaction. The title of stupid brother was still very useful. Yu Xingqi's self-introduction made Song Yan's expression very ugly. She originally wanted to teach Yu Xingqi a lesson. But now that the latter had revealed his identity, it wasn't good for her to do anything. After all, although her sect didn't fear Yu Sihuang, the latter was still the king of the southern mountain range. If she went against him because of such a small matter, she would definitely be scolded by her elders when she returned. Thinking of this, Song Yan's heart became even more sullen. She fiercely looked at Luo Qingtong and Yu Xingqi. Then, she looked at Yan Yuju who was looking at her angrily. She immediately stomped her feet and angrily turned to leave. Junior sister. The group of people behind Yan Yuju quickly chased after her, but he didn't move. Miss Luo, I'm sorry for just now. Yan Yuju looked at Luo Qingtong with an apologetic expression. He didn't expect things to turn out like this. If he knew that Song Yen would have such an attitude towards Luo Qingtong, he would have led her away from the beginning. He definitely wouldn't let Luo Qingtong suffer such humiliation. My junior sister is used to being willful. I will definitely teach her a lesson later. He said to Luo Qingtong, "Do you need me to send you out?" "No need, it's fine." Luo Qingtong nodded at him and smiled faintly. If it wasn't for Yen Yuju, Song Yen definitely wouldn't have left so easily. Luo Qingtong was never a person who would let others step on her head and behave atrociously without fighting back. If Song Yen thought that she was a pushover, she was gravely mistaken. You could say that she was vengeful or not magnanimous enough, but Luo Qingtong would not let herself suffer, not to mention that Song Yen was the one who was looking for trouble. Luo Qingtong didn't say too much to Yen Yuju and bid him farewell. Yen Yuju had no choice. She originally wanted to invite Luo Qingtong to travel with them. But now that something like this had happened, both sides were in an awkward situation. She could only nod and tell Luo Qingtong to be more careful. Fortunately, Luo Qingtong had Yu Xingqi by her side. Yen Yuju glanced at Yu Xingqi. She felt that with the sister of the Southern Mountain Range King, the two of them should have no problem leaving this mountain range. What she didn't know was that Luo Qingtong alone was enough to cross this mountain range at will. There were no demonic beasts that could stop her. Both sides bid farewell and left. After Yen Yuju left, Yu Xingqi's eyes turned. She turned around and threw herself at Luo Qingtong with a smile. "Sister-in-law." Her smile was sweet and she looked indescribably cute. Chapter 996. I'm not your sister-in-law. Luo Qingtong raised her hand to block the person in front of her. "Don't call me that in the future, or I won't be polite to you." Luo Qingtong's voice was faint, but the threat and coldness in it couldn't be ignored. Yi Qianxian was jealous because of Yu Sihuang's matter last time. If Yu Xingqi's words were heard by him, and he investigated, that scene was too beautiful, Luo Qingtong didn't dare to think about it. Most importantly, she didn't want Yi Qianxian to be unhappy. Why? Yu Xingqi blinked her eyes, puzzled. "Look at how handsome my brother is. Okay, he's beautiful, but he's not effeminate. And you see, he's also the king of the Southern Territory, he has strength, he has power, how good is that?" Yu Xingqi followed behind Luo Qingtong, listing the benefits of her brother. She had the attitude of a senior seller. The only thing he didn't do was to sell Yu Sihuang by his weight. Not interested. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent, and she continued to walk forward. "You really don't want to think about it." Yu Xingqi caught up with her pace, unwilling to give up. "My brother is really good." She nodded her head. "You won't lose anything if you marry him." "Marry?" Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked at the cute little loli beside her. This little girl's words were really shocking. She tried so hard to promote her brother, just to let her marry him? Yes. Yu Xingqi nodded her head with a serious face. "Wait until you marry him, then I can go back and be the sect master," she said with a smiling face looking at Luo Qingtong. "You see, isn't this very good? You'll get a peerless beauty as your husband. I'll get the imperial sect and become the queen of the Southern Territory. How good is that? Your brother can't be considered a peerless beauty. If it was, then it should be Yi Qianxian. But, this is the reason why you're promoting your brother to me?" "Yes, other people can't suppress him." Yu Xingqi's eyes turned, with a sly face. When she heard that Yu Sihuang liked the evil Dr. Gui Tong, she hurriedly left a letter and left. It was all for the sake of helping that stupid brother of his win over the beauty. However, she looked at Luo Qingtong and sighed heavily. AI. This person's as people, but she didn't want to accept her stupid brother. Her dream of being the queen was broken. Luo Qingtong was amused by Yu Xingqi's behavior. Yu Sihuang's little sister is really interesting. She actually found her sister-in-law to marry her brother off. Luo Qingtong suddenly sympathized with Yu Huang. What should she do? She smiled and said to Yu Xingqi, "What are you sighing for? Of you. Suppress your brother's imperial sect and become the queen of the southern region." She teased Yu Xingqi. "I also want to. But isn't that too troublesome? I'm lazy. Wouldn't it be better if I directly become the sect master? Unfortunately, I can't beat my brother," Yu Xingqi said. She suddenly tilted her head and smiled at Luo Qingtong. "Then if you don't want to be my sister-in-law, can you be my sister?" She said, then jumped up and said, "Then it's settled. You can be my sister." This way, if Yu Huang bullied her again, wouldn't she have a chance to bully him back? Yu Xingqi giggled as he thought. She will have a backer in the future. Moreover, Luo Qingtong's aura was domineering. Yu Xingqi really liked her. Although she followed her to find a bride for Yu Huang, but since Luo Qingtong didn't want to be her brother's bride, being her sister is also not bad. Chapter 997. Luo Qingtong raises her eyebrows and looks at her. "I thought you should be more worried about whether or not I would kill you to hide my identity." When Luo Qingtong speaks, the smile in Yu Xingqi's eyes suddenly stiffens. Her eyes flash with a trace of panic, and then she tries her best to calm down. You won't, right? I have my brother's senses on me. It's not wise for you to go against him." Yu Xingqi's heart is indeed a little scared. Although she is cunning, black-bellied, and somewhat evil. But she knows who to provoke, and who not to provoke. Luo Qingtong definitely belongs to the group of people who cannot be provoked. These people will absolutely do whatever they say, regardless of the consequences. Before she knew that Luo Qingtong is the evil Dr. Ghost Eye, she only felt that this girl who rose from a low-level country is somewhat interesting. When she was in the heavenly evil group, although she followed Su Xiaoxiao and called her boss, she didn't really care. But when she knew that Luo Qingtong is the evil Dr. Ghost Eye, it was completely different. The latter is her idol. Yu Xingqi really didn't expect that Luo Qingtong can win against the people of the Silver Sword. After Luo Qingtong led the people of the Silver Sword away, she thought that Luo Qingtong would run away after that. But who would have thought that she would actually kill them all? My God! Before Yu Xingqi came, she saw the fate of the people of the Silver Sword. That Silver Sword elder is a Saint Realm expert, but he also died. Although he was injured before, and Luo Qingtong used some unknown method to attract the beast tide, but that is not the reason why Luo Qingtong can kill a Saint Realm expert. In short, Luo Qingtong is very, very powerful. And her methods are very ruthless. Yu Xingqi is really afraid that she will make a move against her. Thinking of this, she suddenly becomes very uneasy and says to Luo Qingtong, "Really, it's not worth it for you to make a move against me. I promise I won't tell my brother about you, okay?" Seeing her like this, Luo Qingtong had a faint smile on her face. She originally only wanted to scare Yu Xingqi. She generally wouldn't make a move on people who didn't threaten her. Moreover, Yu Huang was not her enemy. Luo Qingtong didn't care whether the other party knew her identity or not. However, it would be best if there was less trouble. After all, Yi Qianxian was still jealous. Thinking of this, she said with a calm expression, "All right, remember what you said. Let's go." Good. Yu Xingqi immediately became happy. Oh my God, I've escaped death. She patted her chest and hurriedly followed Luo Qingtong. Seeing her like this, Luo Qingtong's lips suddenly curled up. She suddenly thought of little Lucky. The latter was about the same age as Yu Xingqi, but he was not as eccentric as Yu Xingqi. He was very pure and harmless. Luo Qingtong hasn't seen him since the last time she detoxified him. She heard that the Lanhua aristocratic family originally wanted to send him to the Tianyu Branch Academy, but for some reason, it didn't happen. It is said that he was taken away by someone. Because it was related to the Lanhua aristocratic family's family matters, Luo Qingtong didn't ask much. With the Lanhua clan's old man and Yan Yuju's love for him, the place where the little boy went should be beneficial to him. Unfortunately, when she saw Yan Yuju just now, she originally wanted to ask, but because of his junior sister, she forgot. Forget it, there will be another chance. Chapter 998. Master. After entering the main city of the Black Field, Luo Qingtong left Yu Xingqi in the city lord's manor and had someone watch over him. Soon after, she went to Yen Yang and the others. Seeing the young lady appear with the Rakshasa mask, Yen Yang and the others all knelt down to pay their respects. Luo Qingtong nodded her head and directly walked past them into the main hall. She asked, "What is the matter?" Yen Yang had already had the others withdraw. Hearing this, she immediately replied, "It's about what Master wanted us to pay attention to. There's news regarding the heavenly divine doctor." Oh? Luo Qingtong's eyes suddenly brightened. "You've investigated her identity?" "No." Yen Yang shook her head. "However, we have investigated. That heavenly divine doctor should be someone from Great Yong. Furthermore, she is definitely related to Great Yong's imperial family." As she spoke, she narrated the information that she and the others had investigated. That heavenly divine doctor places great importance on the concealment of her identity. Furthermore, she is extremely cautious. She almost did not leave behind any information or traces that can be investigated. However, from the people that she mobilized, we can see that she should be related to Great Yong's imperial family. Speaking of which, this was all due to Luo Qingtong's efforts. Last time, she had fiercely insulted Feng Wuan in Great Chu. The latter had almost suffered a great loss. She had abandoned her personal maidservant and had even been pursued by the experts of the Black Field. If it were not for the wisp of smoke in her body, she would have been caught on the spot and exposed. However, it was also because of this that she had hastily mobilized many people, revealing the strength that only Great Yong's imperial family could mobilize. This allowed Yen Yang and the people of the Black Field to find some clues. Especially Yen Yang, who had come into contact with people of all trades. She was also a person who knew how to act and speak well. It was very easy for her to analyze what she wanted from the words of others. Therefore, she immediately contacted Luo Qingtong after finding out some clues about the heavenly doctor's identity. As Luo Qingtong valued Luo Qingtong's identity very much, she didn't explain it in the message. Instead, she asked Luo Qingtong to come to the Black Field's main city and personally explain it to Luo Qingtong. Great Yong? Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. It was actually someone from Great Yong? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows slightly. If she remembered correctly, Feng Wuan and the Seventh Lord had come to the Chu sacred capital after the heavenly doctor's failure at the Great Chu sacred dynasty. They were openly plotting for the throne of the Great Chu. Could the other party be that heavenly doctor Divine Hand? Luo Qingtong recalled the poison technique she had used against Feng Wuan when she was investigating his identity. She suddenly smiled with great interest. Interesting. Even if that heavenly doctor wasn't Feng Wuan, he shouldn't be unrelated to Feng Wuan. So this time, Feng Wuan was actually behind the martial king? The latter's appetite was really big. On one hand, he coveted Yi Qianxian and wanted to replace her. On the other hand, he was stirring up trouble in Great Chu and the Empire of Qin. Great Yong, Great Chu, the Empire of Qin, only Great Qi was missing. Did the other party want to unify the four dynasties? However, speaking of which, if they weren't enemies, Luo Qingtong would rather admire Feng Wuan. He was ambitious, powerful, and most importantly, ruthless. It was a pity that he had met her. Chapter 999. If Feng Yuan was really related to the divine doctor, and the art of seizing fate in King Wu's body was caused by the latter, then Luo Qingtong couldn't help but suspect that there was something fishy about Feng Yuan's identity as the first princess and the first genius of Great Yong. She would know it by looking at the situation of the descendants of the Great Yong royal family. Luo Qingtong thought so and suddenly smiled. She gave the list of medicinal materials she brought to Yen Yang and asked them to collect the materials according to the contents. There were not many kinds of medicinal materials in it, only 2 or 3 kinds, but they were not easy to collect. Luo Qingtong could let Ma Chunyi look for them, but it was just a few medicinal materials, which were not particularly precious. If he couldn't collect them after a long time, it would be troublesome. Therefore, when she came to the Black Field this time, she asked Yen Yang and others to do it. In this way, solving the problem of Ma Chunyi's art of seizing fate could be put on the agenda as soon as possible. After all, Luo Qingtong did not intend to stay in the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin for a long time. She had asked around and found out that the grand event that was going to happen soon was related to the hidden world. Luo Qingtong would inevitably win the first place in the conference and enter the hidden world to find the whereabouts of her parents. Therefore, the matter of Ma Chunyi could only be solved sooner rather than later. What's more, it was better to get rid of people like King Wu as soon as possible, so as not to leave him to annoy her. Thinking that King Wu once wanted to take her as a female slave, Luo Qingtong felt a burst of disgust. Not to mention that the divine doctor behind King Wu was related to Feng Yuan. Then, she couldn't let him go. Luo Qingtong didn't stay in the Black Field for long. After Yen Yang collected those medicinal materials, she left the Black Field and returned to the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin. Yu Xingqi naturally followed her. When the two rushed back to the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin, in the encampment of the Dragon Regiment in the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin, Mo Chenxian looked coldly at his subordinates in front of him. "Are you saying that Yuan Mo and Su Jinhua can't be cured?" He narrowed his eyes. He had guessed that Yuan Ma might not be able to cure him. The cold air that erupted from the latter's body was too strong. Yuan Ma's soul imprint spirit body was as strong as the backlash from the cold qi was. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that if this cold qi was not removed, he would be crippled for the rest of his life. There was no such thing as a soul imprint, spirit body, or future powerhouse. He might not even be able to use half of his strength, and every day he lived a life worse than death. At this moment, the people of the Empire of Qin finally understood why Yuan Ma was so determined to not break off the engagement with Luo Qingtong. As soon as he lost the bet with Luo Qingtong, the cold qi in his body erupted. No one believed that this matter had nothing to do with Luo Qingtong. However, no one knew how Luo Qingtong did it. He could only guess that it had something to do with their engagement tokens. Later, someone revealed that Yuan Ma was born with a cold disease and almost couldn't survive, let alone be able to cultivate. The reason why he was able to become a genius powerhouse in these years was entirely because of his engagement with Luo Qingtong. He was afraid that the engagement token had played a big role in it. The cold qi in Yuan Ma's body was not completely removed because of the engagement token. They were afraid that there would be a cure after he married Luo Qingtong. That was why he was determined not to break off the engagement with Luo Qingtong. Everyone guessed so and suddenly despised Yuan Ma. Chapter 1000. As it turned out, the role model and genius was nothing more than a facade. The real Yuan Ma was so disgusting, and the imperial family was worse than pigs and dogs. Their entire family was ungrateful. Some people even found out that the reason why Tianyu's imperial family was annihilated by evil Dr. Ghostai was not because they had offended evil Dr. Ghostai, so evil Dr. Ghostai took revenge and annihilated the entire imperial family. Instead, it was because Tianyu's imperial family repeatedly attacked the Luo family and Luo Qingtong. Evil Dr. Gue Tong had a relationship with the Luo family, so he acted out of anger and exterminated the imperial family. Wuxia and the Empress' actions were exposed one by one. Everyone was filled with righteous indignation, feeling that Tianyu's imperial family should be exterminated. Luo Qingtong could be said to be their benefactor. She saved Yuanma, set up an engagement with him, and made him a genius. But in the end, she was so disdainful. And because Wuxia didn't like Luo Qingtong as her imperial sister-in-law, she joined forces with the Luo family's concubine daughter to attack Luo Qingtong. Her methods were so vicious that it was shameful. Tianyu's imperial family was unfair. Yuanma clearly knew that his family didn't like Luo Qingtong and the Luo family, but he didn't say a word for them. He even forbade them from canceling their engagement with him, almost pushing Luo Qingtong and the Luo family to their deaths. Such selfish and sinister thoughts. Although he didn't directly attack Luo Qingtong and the Luo family, he was more hateful than anyone else. Because if it wasn't for him, Luo Qingtong and the Luo family wouldn't have had to go through so much trouble. Immediately, those who thought that Luo Qingtong's methods were too vicious shut their mouths. Yuanma had only himself to blame for his fate. Not to mention, Luo Qingtong didn't do anything to him. She only took back the Luo family's kindness. What he was suffering now was entirely caused by the illness in his body. What did it have to do with Luo Qingtong? It was already good enough that the girl didn't kick him when he was down. Besides, because of his engagement with Luo Qingtong, Yuanmo had enjoyed so many years of glory and glory. Now that he had been beaten back to his original state, he should be satisfied. For a moment, no one spoke up for Yuanma. Everyone was the same. They were all trash. As for Su Deheng's side, after making a ruckus about wanting to convict Luo Qingtong of the crime of harming a fellow disciple of the same sect, after hearing the rumors that had spread through the heavenly hall, their faces turned ugly and they ceased their ruckus. After all, even if this matter went to the ends of the earth, the elders of the Holy Institute wouldn't be able to do anything to Luo Qingtong. This wasn't Luo Qingtong's fault at all. What was there to punish? Therefore, Mo Chenxian had a premonition that Yuanma had been disabled. However, because he had won Su Deheng's support, he didn't particularly care about Yuanma's disability. After all, the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin didn't lack powerhouses, and his subordinates didn't lack geniuses either. However, he couldn't figure out why Su Jinyue's illness couldn't be cured. The illness in Su Jinyue's body suddenly broke out and was extremely disgusting. However, it didn't mean that Su Jinyue had been cured before. Why couldn't she be cured now? Chapter 1001. Tong Hu hesitated for a moment before asking in a low voice, "Your Highness, I wonder if the expert you know will be able to solve it? If he can, he might be able to make the master of the Soul Institute follow you wholeheartedly." Tong Hu and the others knew that Mo Chenxian had an extremely brilliant alchemist behind him. If they could contact the alchemist and ask him to cure Su Jinyue, the master of the Soul Institute would be very grateful and help His Highness fight for the position of the Crown Prince. However, Mo Chenxuan's face darkened at the mention of this. Don't mention it again. How could he not want to get in touch with that heavenly doctor? But for some reason, the latter seemed to have suddenly disappeared. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't contact him. He did not know if there was something wrong with the skill of seizing luck in his body and what had happened to Ma Chenyi. However, it did not matter. Anyway, he had absorbed most of the power of Ma Chenyi's bloodline. Even if he could not absorb any more, he was confident that he could break through to a higher level than Ma Chenyi before the grand competition. By then, the latter's position of the Crown Prince and the throne of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin would have to be given up. Thinking of this, Mo Chenxian sneered. He might be worrying for nothing. What could Ma Chenyi do with the pitiful dragon energy in his body? He was already lucky to be able to maintain his strength and not drop. In this world, no one could stop him from reaching the top. As for Luo Qingtong, Mo Chenxian narrowed his eyes and thought of the girl's charm on the stage. Once he had absolute power and strength, would he still be afraid that the other party wouldn't fall into his hands? Although she was a little unruly, it was more interesting to tame a stubborn wild horse, wasn't it? However, before that, he had to deal with Yi Luo. Thinking of how Yi Luo protected Luo Qingtong and the supreme holy token in his hand, Mo Chenchuan's face turned cold. Yi Luo was the only hidden danger in his heart. Luo Qingtong was Yi Luo's last student, and Luo Qingtong was on good terms with Ma Chenyi. If that Yi Luo helped Ma Chenyi, with the power of the supreme holy token in his hands, even if he was more powerful than Ma Chenyi, he would not be able to obtain the position of crown prince. After all, that was the supreme holy token that could influence the decision of a transcendent saint. Thinking of this, Mo Chenxian was indescribably upset. If he had known that Yi Luo had the supreme sacred token, he definitely wouldn't have jumped out to protect the Soul Institute's head teacher. Even if he wanted to help Yi Luo out of his predicament, he would never step on Yi Luo. He had really miscalculated. As he thought about it, he asked, "Have you found out who Yi Luo is and who the supreme sacred token in his hand belongs to?" "No." Tong Hu and the others shook their heads. "We've asked everyone in the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin, but no one knows the background and identity of Chief Instructor Yi Luo. I only know that he was suddenly appointed by the Grand Principal. Before this, there were no signs at all. Your Highness, do you think this is just a smokescreen set up by the Grand Principal? You also know that the Grand Principal is very protective of Luo Qingtong and the others. Because of his identity, he can't openly protect Luo Qingtong and the others, so he purposely created a chief instructor." Chapter 1002. That person is helping Luo Qingtong and the others under the orders of the Grand Dean? If that wasn't the case, why would Chief Instructor Yi Luo care so much about Luo Qingtong and the rest? And he even has the Supreme Sacred Badge. With Luo Qingtong and the others' background, how could they know such a person? The more Tong Hu and the others spoke, the more they felt it was possible. We're guessing that the Supreme Sacred Badge might have been given to him by the Grand Dean. If that's the case, then Chief Instructor Yi Luo is nothing to be afraid of. After all, with the Grand Dean's status, even if he had the Supreme Sacred Badge, he couldn't interfere with the Crown Prince's affairs. It was even more impossible for him to use the Supreme Sacred Badge to influence the Crown Prince's affairs. Mo Chenxian nodded. He had the same thought, but whether it was true or not, he had to find out more information first. The Supreme Sacred Badges issued by the 4 sacred dynasties were limited. Under such circumstances, it shouldn't be difficult to find out who the one in Yi Luo's hands belonged to. If those people had the Supreme Sacred Badges, then the one in Yi Luo's hands must be the Grand Dean's. This way, he wouldn't have any worries. Just as he was thinking, he suddenly heard Su Deheng's voice from outside. "Your Highness King Wu." Following Su Deheng's voice, the door outside was pushed open from the outside. "Great teacher." Mo Chenxian raised his head to look at Su Deheng, who was striding in. After a period of events, the latter looked very old and dispirited. His eye sockets were deeply sunken, and the 2 eyes that were usually filled with arrogance were now filled with lethargy and gloominess. At this moment, Su Deheng looked like a sinister vulture hiding in the dark. His face was gloomy and cold to the extreme. "Your Highness King Wu, I want you to help me deal with Luo Qingtong. I will fully support you in the fight for the throne. As long as I can contact the elders and ministers, they will fully support you. Not only that, but I can also convince the families behind the many geniuses of my Soul Academy to support you. As long as you help me deal with Luo Qingtong." Su Deheng was like a madman at this moment. His words were incomparably vicious. His face twitched violently, looking extremely ferocious. "What's wrong with the Soul Institute's great teacher? Why would you suddenly say that?" Seeing him like this, Mo Chenchuan's eyes darkened slightly and then he asked. It was naturally a good thing that Su Deheng was supporting him so wholeheartedly. However, he had to find out the reason why the other party had suddenly changed their attitude towards Luo Qingtong. After all, Su Deheng's hatred for Luo Qingtong had not reached this level before. It was almost as if he had thrown caution to the wind. You, is awake. Su Deheng's face darkened. She told me that her poison was most likely caused by the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. At this point, Su Deheng gritted his teeth fiercely. Su Jinue was neither a human nor a ghost now. He only had one daughter, and he could not let her continue to be like this. All the pharmacists said that they could not cure Su Jinue's poison. If it was really caused by the evil Dr. Ghost Eye, then even if he found the alchemist in that place, he might not be able to cure Su Jinue's poison. The only possibility was to ask the evil Dr. Ghost Eye for help. Chapter 1003. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye and Luo Qingtong were old friends, and he had offended Luo Qingtong. How could the latter help Su Jinue detoxify? Su Deheng even thought that the poison in Su Jinue's body might have been induced by Luo Qingtong. After all, at that time, Su Jinue was fine. Suddenly, the human-faced ghost sore on her body broke out. At that time, Su Jinue was confronting Luo Qingtong for him. Thinking of this, Su Deheng's heart suddenly surged with a burst of resentment. I want to deal with Luo Qingtong and let evil Dr. Ghost Eye cure you, That was his only daughter. Since it was impossible for evil Dr. Ghost Eye to cure her, he would force her to do it. Wasn't she helping Luo Qingtong? In that case, he would use the other party to threaten her. Let's see if she was willing to cure her. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Mo Chenxian was shocked when he heard this. The poison in Su Jinue's body was actually caused by evil Dr. Ghost Eye. It was no wonder that so many people were helpless against the poison in her body. Great teacher, are you sure? He asked. You said that she got it when she was in the Black Field city of Dongli country. She taught a girl with a white veil a lesson, and that person changed the poison on her long whip. I suspect that the young girl she spoke of is the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. It is said that evil Dr. Ghost Eye is evil and flamboyant. It is hard to tell whether he is a man or a woman. I suspect that you has mistaken him for someone else. Su Deheng's face became more distorted when he said this. I must force her to save you, Luo Qingtong and the others are the only breakthrough. If Su Jinue and the others really offended evil Dr. Ghost Eye, it was absolutely useless to beg for help. They could only start from another place. And Luo Qingtong was that place. Whether it worked or not, Su Deheng could only try his best. In the entire Saint Academy, the most likely person to help him was Mo Chenxian. But Luo Qingtong is now backed by Mo Chenxian, the Grand President, and Yi Luo. It is not so easy to deal with her. Mo Chenxian looked at him and said. If it was just to target Luo Qingtong's life, Mo Chenxian could certainly use the Dragon Regiment to make trouble for her. But it was useless for Su Deheng. The other party wanted to force Luo Qingtong to the extreme and then make a request for her to ask evil Dr. Ghost Eye to save her. With so many people protecting Luo Qingtong, it was basically impossible for her to do this. What if I say that Luo Qingtong might have cheated in the battle? Su Deheng's face darkened. Regardless of whether Yuan Mo brought this upon himself or not, he cheated in the gambling match and broke the rules of the Saint Court. We can use this to protest and sanction the elders. Even the Grand President can't protect her. As for Yi Luo, Su Deheng sneered. The Supreme Holy Token is not omnipotent. As long as he could get hold of Luo Qingtong's weakness, he could make Yi Luo unable to protect her. Moreover, like Mo Chenxian and the others, he also suspected that the Supreme Holy Token in Dr. Ghost Eye's hand belonged to the Grand President. After all, it was too much of a coincidence. The Grand President recommended a chief instructor, who treated Luo Qingtong differently and had the supreme holy token. And he was a nobody. Humph. Su Deheng sneered. Chapter 1004. He looked at Su Deheng. Great teacher, are you sure? He asked cautiously. This was a big deal. If it was true, it would definitely consign Luo Qingtong to eternal damnation. Perhaps, it could also affect the reputation of Ma Chenyi and the Grand Dean. In an instant, countless calculations flashed through Mo Chenchuan's mind. Humph. Su Deheng's face was cold. Yuan Mo is my student, how can I not be sure? His soul seal has a special attribute, it's impossible for anyone to have the same attribute as him. You know about his natural cold air, right? Most of his soul seal's attribute comes from the cold air in his body. So, since Luo Qingtong could use his unique soul skill, she must have cheated. I heard that there is a kind of evil technique that can copy and steal other people's soul seal's attribute. The person whose soul seal's attribute is stolen and copied will have their soul seal's ability collapse. It's very vicious and evil. I suspect that Luo Qingtong used that evil technique to cause the cold air in Mo's body to collapse, turning him into a cripple. Otherwise, how could it be so coincidental? Luo Qingtong used the same soul skill to defeat him, and on the other hand, his old illness broke out? Su Deheng's face was gloomy. It's completely nonsense to say that it's because of the engagement token between them. How powerful is the cold air in Yuan Mo's body and how powerful his talent is, Your Highness King Wu, you have seen it with your own eyes. How could it be suppressed by a mere engagement token? If it's possible, then what kind of powerful treasure would that betrothal token be? As for the person who saved Yuan Mo and left him some leeway to restrain him, how tyrannical are his medical skills and abilities? How could the marquis residents of the Luo family, a lowly country, have such a person? Su Deheng didn't believe that there was such a thing at all. It was also because Yuan Mo was currently immersed in pain that he couldn't speak. He also didn't know what Su Deheng was thinking. Otherwise, he would have definitely told him that this matter existed. However, he didn't know what Su Deheng was thinking, so he didn't know where to start. If what you said is true, then we do have a chance to force Luo Qingtong into a desperate situation. Mo Chenchuan's eyes were gloomy. Luo Qingtong actually used sorcery to defeat Yuan Ma and make him like this? If this was true, then there was a lot to be done. Humph. You can send someone to investigate Luo Qingtong's past. I dare say that she's definitely not an ice attribute soul seal expert. Otherwise, it's impossible that she didn't mention it at all before entering the academy. Su Deheng said resolutely. He was certain that Luo Qingtong had cheated. Luo Qingtong, wait until I find the evidence, I will definitely consign you to eternal damnation. The light in Mo Chenchuan's eyes also brightened. Su Deheng's words could really play a big role for him. The other party wanted to deal with Luo Qingtong, but he wanted to use this opportunity to deal with Ma Chenyi and the highest dean's faction. Great Master, please don't worry. I'll immediately send someone to investigate and collect evidence. At that time, Luo Qingtong will definitely be unable to defend herself and be unable to turn over. He said in a low voice. Okay. Su Deheng nodded. He also knew that there were too many people behind Luo Qingtong, so he couldn't act rashly and alert the enemy. If not, he wouldn't have come to cooperate with Mo Chenxian. Then I'll wait for the good news from King Wu. He said and looked at Mo Chenxian. Chapter 1005. Luo Qingtong didn't know that Mo Chenxian and Su Deheng were discussing how to deal with her. She was currently extorting a confession from Little Pig. Quick, hand over the thing in your hand. Luo Qingtong raised her head and pointed at Little Pig's little head. What? Little Pig blinked its pair of small beady eyes and pretended to be stupid. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked at it. Do you want me to say it clearly? Show me your little hooves. Luo Qingtong looked at Little Pig's 2 little hooves. This guy had been behaving strangely along the way and often peeked at its 2 little hooves. Originally, Luo Qingtong didn't notice it, but its silly smile was too obvious. Luo Qingtong raised her head and glanced at it, and found that the things on its hooves had changed. In the past, Little Pig loved to show off, and its 2 favorite storage rings were often on its hooves. Now, one of its hooves had been changed into a jade thumb ring. Luo Qingtong absolutely didn't believe that there was nothing fishy about it. This jade thumb ring was definitely newly obtained, so it was showing off like this. Then here came the question. It had been with her for the past few days, so where did it get this jade thumb ring? Luo Qingtong recalled that Little Pig had revealed its sealed true body and slapped the Silver Sword Elder to death with its paw. Did he get this jade thumb ring from that elder of the Silver Sword sect? Before Luo Qingtong could finish her words, Little Pig had already hidden its 2 little hooves behind its back. But as soon as it did this, Little Pig's expression was filled with despair. Wasn't it obvious that it was trying to hide something? Sure enough, Luo Qingtong crossed her arms in front of her chest and cast a sidelong glance at it with an indifferent expression. Do you want to show it yourself, or do you want me to take it myself? Whoa! Little Pig wailed as he stretched out his little hoof. Luo Qingtong looked at the jade ring on its hoof and asked, Did you get it from the Silver Sword Elder? Humph, Little Pig nodded. I found it when I was photographing him. Even if the Silver Sword Elder was a Sage Realm expert, he would still be killed by Little Pig's claw. The jade thumb ring didn't break at that time, so Little Pig put it away. He didn't expect that Luo Qingtong would discover his secret stash so quickly. How infuriating. It originally wanted to play for a while and tell Luo Qingtong when it was tired of playing. Luo Qingtong ignored it and focused on looking at the jade thumb ring. The material of the latter was special. It was obviously a treasure that surpassed the Sage Realm. The aura it emitted was very vast. Luo Qingtong wasn't surprised that the Silver Sword Elder had such a treasure. After all, the latter was a Sage Realm expert and came from a large sect like the Silver Sword. If it wasn't for Yu Sihuang exterminating his sect, who knew how glorious it would be? Just look at the elders in their sect. They are all Sage Realm elders. However, this jade thumb ring gave Luo Qingtong a strange feeling. She didn't pay much attention to it before, but now that Luo Qingtong held the jade thumb ring in her hand, she clearly felt that there was something wrong with its aura. A bloody light flashed in Luo Qingtong's eyes. In the next second, she raised her hand and pulled. Swish! The jade thumb ring in her hand instantly pulled out a topographic map of mountains and rivers. It turned out that there were 2 layers of aura on the jade thumb ring, blending with each other. Those who didn't know wouldn't be able to see the mystery. Chapter 1006. Huh! Little Pig's eyes instantly widened when he saw the image on the jade thumb ring. There's actually a map hidden in this jade thumb ring? Little Pig looked at the undulating river on the map with a complicated feeling in his heart. No wonder he felt that this jade thumb ring was different. Although its grade wasn't very high, its aura was very strange. That's why Little Pig kept it. Otherwise, how could he be interested in something in the hands of a Sage Realm expert? He didn't expect that there was actually a map hidden in it. This map seems to be. Little Pig looked at the image on the map and suddenly felt that it was somewhat familiar. At this moment, Luo Qingtong's voice sounded. It's the Far West Wilderness. Luo Qingtong looked at the terrain on the map indifferently. After Su Yu and the others went to the Far West Wilderness, they would report back every once in a while. Luo Qingtong was also clear about the situation in the Far West Wilderness. The map depicted the scene of the far west wilderness. However, this was only the outermost map. Luo Qingtong looked at the small map marked in the center. The Sage King's Tomb? Luo Qingtong looked at the words marked on the map. Sage King? What's that? Is there a classification above the Sage Realm? Luo Qingtong was slightly stunned. She hadn't come into contact with this kind of thing yet. In the past, the Luo family was at the bottom of the hierarchy. They could bully and humiliate the Tianyu Empire at will. The things that Luo Qingtong had access to were limited. She only knew that there was a classification above the Sage Realm. However, it wasn't something that ordinary people could come into contact with. Ordinary people only knew about the Sage Realm and those beyond the Sage Realm. They didn't know the specific classification. Luo Qingtong only knew that there was one Sage Transcendence expert. She only learned about it when Yi Qianxian lured the Sage Transcendence expert out of the Great Chu Imperial Palace. She didn't expect that there was a classification above the Sage Realm. Of course there is, Little Pig answered immediately after hearing her question. The realms above the Saint Realm are similar to the Warrior Realm. They are divided into 9 realms: Saint, Saint Master, Saint General, Saint Marquis, Saint King, Saint Emperor, Saint Spirit, and Saint Sovereign. Among them, Saints, Holy Masters, and Holy Generals are known as Transcendents. Saint Marquis, Saint King, and Saint Emperor are known as the Saint Realm. The Holy Emperor, the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Sovereign are known as the Supreme Transformation Realm. The Saint Realm Masters you usually talk about are only those who have just broken through to the Saint Realm and have yet to break through to the Transcendent Realm. They haven't had the time to comprehend the power of heaven and earth, so they only know how to use the superficial knowledge. Transcendents, on the other hand, have begun to comprehend the essence of the world energy contained in the world energy. The Saint Realm is the beginning of this realm. The Supreme Transformation Stage means that one has already comprehended the essence of the stage and is preparing to transform the essence of the stage to reach the Supreme Transformation Stage. Little Pig said. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows when she heard what Little Pig said. The Supreme Transformation Stage is the Supreme Transformation Stage? Yes. Little Pig nodded. But that's too far away for you. Don't worry about it. Anyway, there won't be such a master on this continent. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes slightly. Chapter 1007. Outside of it, there was another world that was even more vast and spacious. In that world, the Sage Realm was just the beginning. But within the true Spill continent, those above the Saint Realm were the pinnacle. However, wasn't this more interesting? What people feared the most was not having a goal. In her previous life, Luo Qingtong stood at the apex of the ability user world. It could be said that she was lonely at the top. Because of her curiosity, she stirred up various forces everywhere, causing them to be restless. Wasn't it because she was too bored? But now, it seemed that she wouldn't be so bored in this life. As Luo Qingtong was thinking this, Yu Xingqi's voice suddenly came from not far away. Hearing this, Luo Qingtong immediately withdrew the image of the jade thumb ring. She threw the jade thumb ring back to Little Pig. Take it first. After the matter in the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin is settled, we will go to the far west wilderness. The Sage King's tomb was the tomb of a Sage Realm powerhouse. There must be a lot of good things in there. Since Luo Qingtong obtained this map, she naturally wanted to check it out. Little Pig put away the jade thumb ring. There must be a lot of good things in there. There is also that Sage King. If his soul is still here, he alone will be enough to awaken that little white ball. At that time, it will directly break through to the growth stage. The little white ball that Little Pig mentioned was naturally Snowball. Luo Qingtong nodded. She also had the same idea. Snowball's transformation period was too long. She didn't know if it would be bad for it. If there was an opportunity, Luo Qingtong naturally wanted to help it transform as soon as possible. One person and one pig talked as they walked out of the forest. Yu Xingqi came looking for them. She had just disappeared from Luo Qingtong's sight, so she thought that the latter had left first. Luo Qingtong casually gave a reason, then the two continued to rush back to the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin. 2 days later, Luo Qingtong stepped into the gate of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. "Where's your master? He's not back yet?" Luo Qingtong looked at Feng Yu, who had appeared in the courtyard upon seeing her return. She immediately raised her eyebrows. Yi Qianxian left the day before she left. Luo Qingtong still remembered his ugly expression when he received the news. She didn't know who made him so angry. It must be known that Luo Qingtong rarely saw any obvious changes in Yi Qianxian's expression. Of course, except when she was angry with him. Cough. Feng Yu coughed when she heard Luo Qingtong's question. She said, "Master has some matters to attend to. It might take some time before he comes back." In fact, Yi Qianming wasn't there to deal with matters. He was there to eliminate his love rival. Thinking of the news they had received before, that the king of the southern region had come to the eastern region again, Yi Qianxian was angry on the spot and directly returned to the Black Field. Presumably, the king of the southern region would have a very difficult time in the eastern region. Yes. Luo Qingtong nodded and didn't continue to ask. After informing Su Xiaoxiao and the others, she began to refine the medicine for Ma Chenyi in seclusion. The dragon energy in the latter's body had been absorbed too much. If she wanted to reverse it, she had to use the medicine to nourish it. Otherwise, once she used the reversal technique, she would not be able to bear it. It would be strange if Mo Chenxian didn't devour it. At that time, it would help the latter. Chapter 1008. A group of travel-worn girls suddenly appeared in the medicine garden of the Empire of Qin. Senior sister. Senior sister. Seeing the group of girls enter the medicine garden, the students of the medicine garden were all very happy and gathered around. The senior sisters of the Qin Wei clique are back. Everyone said happily. Yes. At the front of the group of girls was a girl in green. She nodded to everyone and then asked, "What happened in the Sacred Academy recently?" Her complexion didn't look very good. The student who was asked didn't pay any attention to it. He told her everything that had happened in the Sacred Institute recently. The most famous one was naturally Luo Qingtong, the Dragon Clique, and Yu Wenma. Okay. I got it. After listening to everyone's narration, the girl in green fiercely suppressed the expression on her face and then left with the group behind her. When they returned to the courtyard where they were, bang! The green-clothed girl fiercely slapped the door frame. Damn it, that Luo Qingtong, His Highness the Crown Prince is actually so protective of her? The green-clothed girl's face was filled with anger. Is that right? Senior Sister Iran, I didn't say anything wrong, right? That Luo Qingtong has Brother Crown Prince bewitched. If she didn't shamelessly seduce Brother Crown Prince, how could he be bewitched by her? It's really a pity that Sister Qingwei is so devoted to Brother Crown Prince. Mo Yufei added fuel to the fire. She gritted her teeth inwardly. Mo Yufei didn't expect at all. She had only left the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin for a while. So many things had happened in here. Thinking of what she had just heard, that Yu Wenma was crippled by Luo Qingtong, her heart burned with anger. Luo Qingtong, that bitch, how dare she? Mo Yufei was so angry that her hands were almost twisted into a fried dough twist. She even more fiercely said bad things about Luo Qingtong. Senior Sister Iran, you can't let that woman steal Brother Crown Prince away. Humph. She has no chance. Yi Ran's expression was ice-cold. She ordered the others. Go, you guys go out and spread the word that our Qing Wei group doesn't like Luo Qingtong. We won't refine pills for anyone from the Heavenly Demon group. The same goes for the resource hall of the Holy Academy. We will not refine any of the potions claimed by the Heavenly Demon group. In the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin, in order to train the students, the medicinal liquid resources distributed to the students were all refined by the students of the Pharmaceutical Academy. As for the other medicinal materials obtained by the students of the Holy Institute, they had to find the students of the Medicine Institute to refine them. As for the Qingwei group, it was formed purely by the students of the Pharmaceutical Institute. The green-robed woman's words were obviously meant to cut off the cultivation aid of Luo Qingtong and the Heavenly Demon group. After all, even if he had the resources, he could not refine it into medicinal liquid. In terms of training results, they were much worse than others. Not only that, she also ordered coldly, in addition, tell the people of other forces that if anyone is on good terms with Luo Qingtong and the others, our Qingwei group will not refine the potions for them. And if anyone is willing to go against Luo Qingtong and the others, we will refine the potions for them for free. As soon as Luo Yi Ran said that, Mo Yufei's face instantly rippled with joy and pride. Chapter 1009. Let's see if Luo Qingtong still has the face to stay in the Saint Institute of the Empire of Qin. She praised as she spoke. Humph, I just want her to leave. Luo Yi sneered. Didn't she have the support of the Crown Prince and the Grand Dean? Then they would use the method of boiling a frog in warm water to force Luo Qingtong to leave. Let's see how long she could stay here after being ostracized and isolated by the whole institute. Qing Wei Group's words quickly spread throughout the Saint Institute. Soon, the Heavenly Demon team was isolated. After all, no one wanted to run out of elixirs. They could go outside to find people to refine or buy elixirs. But the price to pay was too high. It was far more cost-effective to find students from the Pharmaceutical Institute to refine elixirs. And the members of Qing Wei Group were all very good at refining elixirs in the Pharmaceutical Institute. Under such circumstances, most of the people in the Heavenly Palace of the Saint Institute kept a respectful distance from the Heavenly Demon team. Not only that, but many people deliberately came to make trouble for the Heavenly Demon team for their own benefits. Plus, they couldn't get elixirs. The Heavenly Demon team seemed to have fallen into a desperate situation. When Luo Qingtong came out of seclusion, this situation had been going on for a few days. What's going on? Luo Qingtong looked at Yuan Hu and the others who were sitting in the hall. They all looked pale, and she didn't know what they were thinking. They didn't even react when they saw her coming. Boss! Seeing Luo Qingtong come out, Yuan Hu and the others were stunned for a moment, then stood up. You came out of seclusion? They heard from Luo Qingtong that she was going to refine elixirs in seclusion. Yes. Luo Qingtong nodded, then looked at them and said, What's wrong with you? You're being targeted. Someone wants to deal with you. Yu Xingqi said as she skipped in front of Luo Qingtong. She looked up and smiled sweetly, Sister. Since Luo Qingtong didn't say she couldn't call her sister, Yu Xingqi changed the way she addressed Luo Qingtong. Yes. Luo Qingtong didn't correct her. It was just a title, no big deal. She cared about Yu Xingqi's words. Someone wants to deal with me and you? Who? Luo Qingtong asked. The Dragon Group? Seoul Institute's master and the others? Luo Qingtong could only think of these two groups of people. But Yuan Hu and the others shook their heads. Boss, no. Sima Ju told him what happened in the past 2 days. They are from the Qing Wei Group. Qing Wei Group? Luo Qingtong heard his words and frowned. Do they have a grudge with us? She had never heard of the other party's name before, so she shouldn't have offended the other party. Why are they finding trouble for me for no reason? Cough. Hearing Luo Qingtong's words, Sima Ju, Yuanhu, and Ling Tianhan all coughed lightly. They looked at each other, not knowing what to say to Luo Qingtong. Could they say, "Boss, Qing Wei Group thinks you stole their leader's man, so they're purposely looking for trouble?" Don't say that out loud, just hearing it made them panic for their boss. Did their boss need to steal a man? Plus, even if she wanted to steal, it wasn't the crown prince. Their boss already had His Excellency Ming Zun, okay? Even if she wanted to steal someone else's man, it should be him. Everyone was speechless, feeling that this was an undeserved disaster. Chapter 10:10. She found out that this matter was related to Ma Chunyi. Moreover, because of the other party's protection, the Qing Wei Group's people thought that she stole their leader Yu Qingwei's man. Luo Qingtong was speechless. There was nothing between her and Ma Chunyi, okay? However, Luo Qingtong also knew that Ma Chunyi's protection of them was too obvious. She knew what the other party's purpose was, but others might not know. Naturally, they would think in other places. However, that wasn't a reason for the Qing Wei Group to casually deal with her people. Moreover, that Yu Qingwei wasn't Ma Chunyi's fiancé. She just liked Ma Chunyi. Why would the Qing Wei Group stand up for her and teach her a lesson? Did they really think that she was easy to bully? Luo Qingtong stood up with a cold face. At this moment, she glanced around and suddenly didn't see Su Xiaoxiao. She immediately asked, "Where's Xiaoxiao?" That girl couldn't have done something stupid, right? Yuanhu and the others were baffled by her question. Suddenly, Ling Yu cried out. Then she quickly looked at Luo Qingtong and said, "Oh no, boss, Xiaoxiao might have gone to the Qing Wei Group to gamble on medicine skills. Last time she said that she wanted the Qing Wei Group to take back their words." The Qing Wei Group's people were targeting Luo Qingtong. Unless the latter left the Empire of Qin, they would never stop. Then Su Xiaoxiao's only way was to gamble with them and force them to stop. However, how long had it been since Su Xiaoxiao entered the Empire of Qin? Even if her alchemy skills were very strong, the Qing Wei Group's people weren't weak. Most of them were the top geniuses of the medicine department. Ling Yu's heart became anxious as she thought of this. Yuanhu and the others' hearts also thumped. Let's go to the medicine department to take a look. Luo Qingtong's brows also wrinkled. She knew that Su Xiaoxiao was definitely a top genius among the combat alchemists. However, the latter's talent in alchemy was too unique. Su Xiaoxiao might not lose to those people from the Qing Wei Group if they were to casually refine pills. But if the medicinal herbs were to be refined, Su Xiaoxiao would lose without a doubt. After all, her alchemy talent was such a fraud. Luo Qingtong thought so and immediately led everyone to the pharmaceutical courtyard. At the same time, in the herb garden, Su Xiaoxiao stood in front of the people from the Qing Wei Group. She looked nervously at the medicinal liquid in front of her. The latter and the others sneered, "Su Xiaoxiao, stop struggling. Just based on that bit of alchemy skills of yours, how can you possibly be our match? You've lost 2 rounds in a row, and the medicinal liquid you concocted is even worse than trash. There's even an incomplete medicinal liquid. Are you really a genius specially recruited by the Grand Principal? I heard that the great teacher has the intention to train you." Sure enough, it's good to be associated with the Crown Prince. When a man achieves the Tao, even his chickens and dogs ascend to the heavens. Any Tom, Dick, and Harry can enter the sacred academy of the Empire of Qin and be taken care of by the instructors. The people from the Qing Wei Group looked at the girl in front of them with disdain. In their opinion, Su Xiaoxiao's talent in alchemy was so bad that she couldn't even be called an alchemist. It was ridiculous that such a person could enter the sacred academy of the Empire of Qin. Previously, she heard that Luo Qingtong was specially treated by the Grand Principal and was admitted into the academy because she managed to hook up with the Crown Prince. Not only that, even the people around her were specially recruited. Chapter 10-11. Now, this Su Xiaoxiao looked like trash at first glance. They really didn't know why the head of the Pharmaceutical Institute had agreed to accept her. It was said that he had wanted to accept her as his last student, but Su Xiaoxiao had rejected him. When the Qingwei Society saw Su Xiaoxiao's performance, they only treated these words as a joke. What they didn't know was that Su Xiaoxiao's talent and power didn't lie in the fixed content of refining medicine. Yes. Su Xiaoxiao admitted that she had indeed been trash before. She didn't think that she was a genius who could look down on others. But these people insulted boss. This was absolutely not. All of you, shut up. The girl who had always been soft and weak like a little white rabbit spoke in a small voice. Even when she quarreled with others, she would cry first. But now, she was as angry as a fighting bull. She looked at the people of the Qingwei Society with red eyes. You can talk about me, but you're not allowed to scold my boss. Humph. So what if we scold her? Boss? You're such a trash boss. You can imagine what kind of trash Luo Qingtong is. Seducing His Highness the Crown Prince. If it weren't for Luo Qingtong hooking up with His Highness the Crown Prince, how could someone like Su Xiaoxiao enter the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin? When the people of the Qingwei Society thought this, their expressions became more and more disdainful. Su Xiaoxiao was so angry that her whole body trembled. At this moment, Luo Yi suddenly withdrew his hand. Done. She raised her eyebrows and said coldly. In front of her, a bottle of medicinal liquid that had already been refined was lying there quietly. Seeing that bottle of medicine, Su Xiaoxiao suddenly bit her lip. The medicine in front of her was only half refined. Time was up. She was going to fail again. Boss, I'm sorry. I'm so useless. Su Xiaoxiao said. Tears were about to fall from her eyes. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared beside her. Who said you're useless? Luo Qingtong appeared beside Su Xiaoxiao. She raised her hand to hold Su Xiaoxiao's hand and looked at the people from the Qingwei group with a hint of anger in her eyes. Then, she said to Su Xiaoxiao coldly, close your eyes and feel it with your heart. As she spoke, a bloody light flashed in her eyes. In an instant, her spiritual power connected with Su Xiaoxiao. In an instant, Su Xiaoxiao saw a very wonderful scene in her mind. In the medicinal liquid before her, there were all sorts of different medicinal liquid compositions. Yellow, green, and blue. Su Xiaoxiao didn't recognize the colors of the various medicinal liquids. However, she could sense the aura contained within those colorful spots of light. Luo Qingtong's eye ability was different from the soul imprint of this world. The soul imprint in this world was unique. Other than the soul bearer himself, it could not be used by anyone else. However, Luo Qingtong's ocular ability was different. She could share it with others through a spiritual power connection. However, that was only possible if the other party had complete trust in her, and completely opened up her heart, mind, and even soul to her, allowing her spiritual power to enter. Luo Qingtong was now using her spiritual power to connect with Su Xiaoxiao. She shared the world she saw with her bloody eyes with Su Xiaoxiao. She could see the various ingredients in the medicinal liquid clearly. Su Xiaoxiao, I told you before that there is no absolute genius in this world. There is only one heart that is willing to become a genius. Feel the aura of the ingredients in these medicinal liquids carefully. Merge them. Chapter 10-12. Luo Qingtong's voice was cold. The drawbacks of Su Xiaoxiao's alchemy talent were very obvious. She was born slower than others in sensing the composition of the medicinal liquid. She was also not sensitive to the degree of fusion of the medicinal liquid. Therefore, her success rate in alchemy was so low. At the same time, what others could do in half the time, she had to use twice or even several times the time to succeed. The level of the medicinal liquid after success was still so low. But her control over the fusion of the medicinal liquid was the strongest. She could stabilize the composition of the medicinal liquid many times. It could be said that Su Xiaoxiao's alchemy talent could be the best waste, but it could also be the best genius. Luo Qingtong now wanted to remove all the drawbacks of her alchemy talent. She took her to feel the obvious differences of the different compositions in the medicinal liquid. Improve her sensitivity to the composition of the alchemy and let her transform into a real alchemy genius. Yes. Su Xiaoxiao nodded heavily. She knew how shocking it was for Luo Qingtong to do all this to her. To be able to help others see the difference of the different compositions in the medicinal liquid, what kind of terrifying thing was this? Why were alchemists, spiritual array masters, and weapon refiners so noble and rare? It was because there were too few people with such talent. Martial artists could have strength by practicing martial arts and cultivation methods. Soul practitioners could develop the soul seal in their body and have unique strength. But alchemists, spiritual array masters, weapon refiners, and so on, had no way to do it. If you had the talent, you had it. If you didn't have the talent, you couldn't understand it. Just based on this, Luo Qingtong could nurture countless alchemists. Su Xiaoxiao's eyes were shining. She closed her eyes and felt the different compositions of the medicinal liquid that Luo Qingtong took her to see. Just as she was immersed in the fusion and aura of the different medicinal liquid, Luo Iran and the others sneered, deliberately mystifying. It was absolutely impossible for Su Xiaoxiao to succeed in refining. The other party was like this just now. Within the stipulated time, she couldn't even complete half of the fusion process of the medicinal liquid. How was it possible for him to successfully refine the medicinal liquid in such a short period of time? Mo Yufei even laughed out loud. She had just been watching Su Xiaoxiao make a fool of herself and didn't even bother to mock her. In Mo Yufei's view, people like Su Xiaoxiao were not worth her attention. But now that Luo Qingtong appeared, Mo Yufei couldn't hold back anymore. It was this woman who had crippled Yuan Mo. Thinking of the time when she went to see Yuan Ma, the latter's body was covered with frost and he couldn't move at all. Mo Yufei looked at Luo Qingtong as if she had been dipped in poison. As a princess of the royal family, since she had fallen in love with Yuan Ma, she naturally truly liked him. Who would have thought that the latter would end up like this? Now, the engagement between Yuan Ma and Luo Qingtong was annulled. However, Yuan Mo was also crippled. Under such circumstances, it was impossible for her to be with Yuan Ma. If that was the case, it would have been better if Yuan Ma and Luo Qingtong hadn't annulled the engagement. At that time, Mo Yufei didn't take Luo Qingtong seriously at all. She had already made up her mind long ago. With her identity as a princess of the royal family of the Empire of Qin, as long as she insisted on marrying Yuan Ma, even if the latter was engaged, she would still be the main wife. At that time, Luo Qingtong could only be a concubine. What threat could she pose to her? You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.